All right, guys. Well, cheers. First
Hey,
podcast
cheers,
of 2025.
Salud.
Cheers, salute. Yeah. I'll drink my grapefruit.
Welcome, Matthew Printer, the one and only mysterious.
Hey, there I am.
Thanks for coming on.
I am very happy to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You look good as always.
Did my hair.
Fantastic.
I know, I
I
can
wanna
tell.
wear-
You're like, oh, I got cameras. I'm going to do my hair.
Yeah.
Never wear a hat. Never. So, Matt, you started in the Marine Corps, right?
I did, yeah. Yep. 2003, I went into the delayed entry program. Left a month after I graduated high school in 2004. Did 4 years of Marine Corps stuff back in the day. So
You did your first deployment with the Marines too, right?
yeah,
At that point.
my first and second. Yep. So I don't know how far back you want to take. You want to take like where I grew up.
I mean, I
type
guess
thing?
what made you end? What did you end up with in the Marine Corps? How did you end up there? What is it like?
So I don't know where the Marine Corps thing came from. That was like when I was a kid, I saw there's two movies I saw, Top Gun and Green Beret with John Wayne. And I loved those movies. None of them had Marines. So
Air Force.
yeah, so I don't know, so one of them's like Navy pilots.
Oh yeah.
One of them's
maybe.
Green Beret, and I was just like, I love the vibe on both of these. And then I remember as a young kid, I was like, oh, I want to be a naval aviator. And then I got glasses. And I remember, so this is like early 90s, the doctor slaps these big window panes of glasses on my face. So now I'm like, and then he goes, and then I ask him, I'm like, hey, could I be a Navy pilot? And he's like, no, you'll never fly anything, ever. I was like, all right. And then I was like, guess it's Marines. So, and I don't know where I honestly don't know where that came from, but man, did I get bit by that bug hard. And you could not change my mind.
Were you that like high school guy? Like, I'm going to the Marine Corps.
I was
Marine Corps. That's what I'm doing.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You had the shirt. You had everything.
Embarrassing.
You had it all.
Ridiculous. I had my room, my door had a Marine Corps poster on it. My room was like decked out. Like I was just annoyingly obsessed. I was in the Young Marine program back in like the mid 90s. And that was a great program. It wasn't in its infancy, but it started gaining popularity like in the 90s, and it was good for like youth leadership, and there was a lot of opportunities to do that. But it was all centered around the Marine Corps. So I ate that up and wanted to do it. And then when I joined and I went to I forget which airport you initially fly into. It might be, I don't know if it's Charlotte, but whatever. The main airport, the main hub you fly into on the day that, you're going to boot camp, you get the drill instructors find you, corral you, and then bring you down into like the bowels of this airport and then go absolutely banana shit crazy. And it was like nothing I have ever experienced in my entire life. And all these drill instructors were, I'm assuming they were like brand new, so they weren't like actually training platoons yet. They probably just graduated and then just blew like 2 kilos of cocaine and just went fucking nuts down there. Well, that's what it felt like.
Is this a hindsight knowing what you know now, or at the time you recognized that?
No, this is what I thought going in. I'm like, they're fucking crazy. And the female drill instructors were that was even more bizarre, because you got to think they're probably like 23 maybe, and they are like this intense, ravenous, like shrieking female that would just like claw your face off. And I was just like,
What the fuck is
and
this?
you're in the bowels of this civilian airport, and they're like, it's no holds barred. They're screaming and banging, and it's just like you have no idea what time it is, and this is just going. And you're not even at Paris Island yet. You're just in the friggin' airport waiting for the bus. And then I'm like, I remember standing. So they all these different tasks. They're like checking you in, and everybody's screaming. The Marine Corps is big on like, obviously repeating stuff, but you'll have they'll pull people and they'll be like, you're just going to shout this one thing, for everybody until I tell you to stop shouting. So like they had different stations. So I'm waiting in line for like, I had to say my social security number. And I said, and I'm standing there and everybody's getting fucking yelled at and shit like that. And this is my first time and only time I almost peed my pants a little bit. Like legit. And I didn't even know that was a thing. I was like, I'm never going to fucking pee my pants. And then I'm standing there and just the intensity that these drill instructors had out of friggin' nowhere. My bowels like quivered a little bit, like my bladder. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna like something like this is horrible. And then I immediately, my whole entire childhood, all I wanted to do was be a Marine, like from probably fourth grade on.
Oh, wow.
And I immediately was standing there like I made the worst decision I've ever made. This was horrible. Like, get me the fuck out of here. And then I shouted my social security number, but because we're from Rhode Island, like every Rhode Islander says O instead of 0. So I said O, and then I just like, it was like a bug lantern. They just all got around me. Like, O's not a fucking number, you fucking bitch. And just, it was rough. So then I had to scream, state your name and your social. And I must have screamed that for hours. Just anytime someone came up to the thing, I had to be like, say your name and your social. And then like and then he'd say it, and then the next person would come. And then finally I got on a bus and went to Paris Island and
Did it all again.
Day 0.
had that whole thing that is historically, like you can watch videos of that in processing, like the bus pulling up to Paris Island, how the drill instructor comes on the bus, talks, like all of that. I don't think that's really changed. I'll even watch the ship from like the 60s and 70s they have. I don't know if you ever saw like the Periscope films stuff. That's pretty dope. That's like a cool, like all the old school, like Department of Defense films from like World War II. Okay. Like, whatever it is.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like aerial gunnery for the waist gunner on a B-17.
Okay.
And like whatever. They got everything. And it's like, it's all different stuff. So they have like the old, boot camp stuff on there. And it hasn't really changed. I think the only thing that I can tell is that I think they were more apt back then to put hands on you. So they weren't as like, they were just as intense, but they weren't like viciously verbally psychotic, versus now, at least when I went through, it was way less hands and more like
just psychotic,
yeah. Just unrelenting. Like, and you never knew where it was going to come from. And I don't know, you just got to acclimatize to it. Bitch was a big word for them. And I never was like, I mean, my father called me all sorts of names, but that wasn't one of them. And I got down there and that was bitch and pig were like the two things you got called all the time. And I was just like, I was like the first like week, I was like, oh my God, I feel really, like this is really affecting me emotionally. And then afterwards I was just like, oh, whatever. Okay. Like I'm a pig. I have a fat mouth that I need to open. And it's crazy. I would love to go be a fly on a wall and go back there and see and just laugh and giggle. And I think while we were in Kosovo, my buddy Chris that I was in the Marines with, you
were like, you guys served in the same unit?
Yeah, he was serving the same unit.
That's sick.
He sent me a text, and it was just a picture, and it was a picture of one of the parade fields outside of one of the barracks on Paris Island. That was just it. And I could recognize it was a shitty photo taken out. Like, he just held it up to the car, and I was just like, are you on Paris Island right now? He's like, yes. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, we were down here and we drove by it, and he's got a wife and kids, and he's like, I just decided to come on base and drive around. I'm like, that's dope. I'm like, are you gonna like, go check out a platoon or something? And he's like, I'm too afraid to get out of the car. He's like, I don't even want to get out. So it's definitely like a thing that happens. Yeah. And then when I left there, I just remember like not even, I was like, just get me off this fucking place. Like, I don't want to get yelled, like, because there's always something. The Marine Corps is really good at that. Like, there's always something to be yelled at for at any given time about anything. And it's always like this like personal, like ass chewing that you're gonna get. So
It's constant anxiety.
it is, yeah. I mean, but they set you up.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely
Yeah,
they create a good base product, and I don't think there's a very high attrition rate because there's a box of rocks that were in this platoon. There's this one kid, I'll never forget his name, Hodges. Hodges followed me from, unfortunately, he followed me from Paris Island all the way to infantry school, and I don't know where I don't know where he ended up. I should probably Google him and see if I can find him. But man, that poor kid. That was like what they did back in Vietnam. Like, who was the SecDef in Vietnam? Kissinger or whatever.
Yeah.
When he did that thing where he like lowered standards and like got a bunch of people that shouldn't have been in the military because they're like licking
Oh,
lollipops.
yeah, because they needed the people, yeah.
Woo! And Hodges like fell into that category, like full blown ASVAB waiver, like it was bad, and like he had a weird voice too, like it was very like strained. So he'd always be like, "Neil sir, no sir," like that. Like he was always trying to push his shit out. So like there was always that going on. And then one day, and he just like his disposition, there was like a disconnect in his brain because after being beat for so long, like you kind of learn like well, you definitely learn. You're like, all right, I won't like drink orange juice anymore, or I won't use my left hand for this, or I won't, like all these things you're not going to do or do, so that way you don't incur the wrath of all these drill instructors. And I don't think Hodges ever really picked up on that. Hodges was just skipping through on his own program, and he was getting he was just getting hourly beatdowns. And I remember one day we were at when you go to a rifle range in Paris Island, you switch barracks. You go from whatever barracks, whatever training battalion you're in, you pack up all your shit and you do a ruck out to the rifle range. You stay in the they call them weapons barracks or whatever they called them back then. So anyway, we're out there and they get their own chow hall and whatever and whatnot. So we're in the and it again, like it's all screaming all the time. There is no relaxation at any point during this entire boot camp experience. So we get out there. So you're getting yelled at the entire ruck march out there. And then you get there and you're getting yelled at. And then you're at the chow hall. And then there's no ice cream. There's ice cream machines, but like don't touch these things. Yeah. Like this is like strictly forbidden. Don't do this. So we're all like blah, 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 just eating quickly, trying to get it done. Well, Hodges goes and gets ice cream. Like while all this chaos is going on, he's just like he's like, oh wow, they did have ice cream at the other place, but they have it here. I might as well dabble. And he went and he got a thing of ice cream and he started eating it. And it was like, oh man. It would be like if someone whipped out their tits in church. Like everybody was just like, all the drill, like we were just like, holy shit, he's gonna get fucked. And like everybody kind of like all the drill instructors like turned and looked, and then they like came and then like I don't remember what happened, but it was from what I recall, it was probably something of like one of the drill instructors was like, is that ice cream good, Hodges? Cause you're gonna fucking pay for it. And then back in the barracks, we're all online. And they're just smoking the dog shit out of, like, everybody's standing online in the squad bay at attention while they just smoke him up and down. And the two things, you can get smoked on what they call the quarterdeck, which is like the forward quarter. It's like everything's nautical terms, so it's the forward quarter of the barracks. It's like a little area. It's where they punish everybody for, anything, whatever your infractions are. And then they can also... they also devise these other things. So like there's no mops when you're in Marine Corps basic training. It's scuzz towels. So it's a brown towel that you get at the PX, and it's gross. And then you pour the soapy water on the floor and you get in like a mountain climber position, and then you just like up and down, right? So then he's sweating so much that they have him scuzz toweling his sweat up. So now he's doing this, and this felt like it went on for forever. And Hodges is just like, they're out there telling him shit and they're screaming at him, and the fucking drill instructors are pouring sweat. This kid's pouring sweat, and then he's puking up all the shit he just ate for lunch into a pile. So he had to scuzz towel it in a pile. And then he's like, they're making him do push-ups and blow bubbles in his puke. And then finally it got to a point where where it went on for a while, and I was just like, they might kill this kid, and I might like witness this, like, and then,
Jesus.
and then they get to a point where like Hodges can't physically do any more activity. Like he's like completely gassed, and that's still all this screaming going on, and the senior and the drill hats is you have 3 drill instructors. You have your senior, your drill hat, who's kind of like the guy in the middle. He's like the he's not brand new. And then your kill hat's your youngest guy, who's usually supposed to be like the most psychotic out of all of them. Senior drill instructor's kind of like your daddy, and he'll have his 2 other dudes go out there and mess with you, and then he'll play good cop. He'll come out and he'll be like, drill instructors, and then he'll like talk to everybody or whatever. But our middle hat was like the one who was like, I think all that dude did all day was just slam monsters and just look for excuses to mess people up. So these guys, they're just fucking screaming at this kid. And at one point, and the kid went down right in front of me and that other dude. So we're just kind of like standing there, like kind of looking down at him, and they're just barking at him. And then one of the drill instructors walked away. I didn't know he walked away, but he went and grabbed a piece of chalk, and he came over and he just outlined his body on the squad bay floor. And he just took this thing and he just fucking beamed this wad of chalk so hard off the back of Hodges' head. It left like a nubbin of chalk on the back of his bald head. Christ. And then he just like got up, and then like the first person he saw was me, and he just got in my face and he's like, that bitch is dead. Like that. And I was like, oh, sorry, he's dead. And I was like, holy shit, they killed Hodges.
Jesus Christ.
So that kid made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So your attrition rate ain't high. Like they'll beat
if
you
you
and
make
force
it through,
feed
you're
you
good.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Until, there's a war going on. So
I think it's funny, like the difference though, because I feel like at least Army wise, it was more like, oh, that guy fucked up. Well, you all fucked up.
I was thinking that too. I was about to ask that.
No, there's a lot of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's definitely the group punishment thing. There's a lot of that. But this is how you can tell like Hodges was so far
they just
beyond
let him
help.
go. Yeah, they were just
was like we can't keep
it's just
punishing
this
the
guy.
platoon for this dude.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna beat the shit out of Hodges. And then and everybody
poor Hodges.
Well, and then yeah, I mean, and then I saw him at infantry school like later on. It's the same thing. And there's a whole, like when we get to that part, there's a whole other story on him. But yeah, no, everybody got some. And I don't think that a day went by when I didn't get smoked on the quarterdeck, just because I ended up being a squad leader. So, anytime someone fucks up, whatever.
Take it, yeah.
And then I harumped, like 2 days later, I harumped at one of the drill instructors. Like there was that middle guy, that middle hat. I was just sick of his shit. Like he just didn't shut the fuck up. And I was just like, and you had to be out there at, I don't even know what times, like 4:30 in the morning, like at the range, like whatever, ready for the day. And he said, whatever the hell he had us doing, he had us like everybody, like he was changing the formation to like get into lines of something or whatever. But he was like, I could understand that we were trying to get ready for the PMIs in order to like facilitate doing our classroom portion and the shooting. Like I had a wherewithal of that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, we're like in my stupid recruit mind, I'm like, the common sense went on. I'm like, okay, we're all fucking here. Like everybody ate, we're here, we got all our shit. But he's just like, I don't know what the fuck he was doing. He's like, you need to turn this way and do this. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And then we fuck it up. And he's like, no, you need to do that. And then he's getting pissed that no one's doing what he needs to be doing. And I thought he was just making this thing harder. So I had to like move in the platoon to a space that I was never before. And I just went, oh, like that. And then, boy, did he caught that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And he's got the old school moonbeam flashlight, the L thing. And that thing just like clicked on. And like just shone right at me, and he went, and then just like pile drive like 20 recruits to get to me, just was flinging everybody around, and he fucking bapped that thing right in my face and like bent me over backwards, and just for like a good 5 seconds just went in my face and then like left. And I was like, okay, all right, whatever. And then he fired me from squad leader after that. Yeah. Put me in the back of the platoon.
Did you see a lot of people drop though? Like, or was it more like?
No. And I don't know how it is. I don't know how it is now, but back then,
Well, I mean, yeah, back then when you was like 2000.
Yeah, you had to.
Five,
I mean, Hodges
4.
got through, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
That dude should never have been through.
I mean, you're going straight somewhere.
So the in order to get dropped from boot camp back then, like you had to have popped on your piss test when you first got in, or you have to be injured. I've seen like injuries. Like injuries bad enough to where like they're not going to keep you there.
Yeah.
Like you're going to go home and rehab or whatever. Outside of that, like,
well, at the time you went too. I mean, it was kind of like, get these guys out there.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was nothing crazy. So yeah, no one quit. Definitely a lot of times where I was just like, oh my God, this is unrelenting suck. Like, how long is this gonna go on for? And then you like that age old like infantry mindset of like, you can't stop time. Like it's all going to end at some point. So you just keep enduring.
Keep doing it.
Whatever it is.
Keeps
like,
going.
the sun will come up tomorrow. You know? So I don't know. Yeah.
So boot camp's 11 weeks and then you go to SOI.
Yeah.
And then after SOI you go to...
then you go to the fleet. SOI is like 2 months. Yeah. I spent a little longer there. But I was originally... And this is where the Kelly thing comes in. Because technically I'm dual MOS in the Marine Corps as an 0351 and an 0311. That's a paperwork misstep because I went through the entire the 351 course, which is your tow gunner. So I go through this whole POI thing, and then during the you have to do like a shoot. The Army has like the whatever that computer game is that you can play and do a bunch of different things. Remember that?
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called. You know what I'm talking about?
VBS. Something or other.
Yeah, that's it. Like squad-based tactics. This was like Atari that they probably used back in like the early 80s that were just like still a viable program. And then so you would have a tow weapon system that was hooked up to this computer, and you would do target acquisition, and you'd shoot like, you know, a video game tow missile. So you're manipulating the whole system and whatnot. But the big score was your tracking score. Not so much like your hits, but can you track a target? So my right eye is fucking shot quad. And they only let you shoot this fucking thing with your right eye. And I asked why, and they were like, because you got to keep your other eye open to scan for threats. And I was just like, at the time I wanted to be like, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Like, your eyes don't work independently, so I'm not like using this one to, you know, scan.
Fucking chameleon over here.
This one's like like tracking other shit going on. So that was it, and that's the Marine Corps in a nutshell. They were just like the book says right eye only, can't use anything else. So yeah, I couldn't fucking shoot the thing. And then all these instructors thought I was like messing with them, which was not a good thing. Mm-hmm. So they were like, and I had like really high grades. Like I ate all that shit up. It was like vehicle ID and all like was setting weapon systems up and all that stuff. And it was intense. Like they could make anything intense. And like, I don't know if you ever handled like the new ITAS that the Army has, but the centerpiece on that, I forget what it's called. Whatever it's like the main hub that has like a big command wire that comes out of it that hooks into a CPU. And that's kind of like has your traversing elements on it. And that's where everything gets hooked up to type thing. That thing weighs like 60 something pounds. So when we did gun drills, we'd be running gun drills outside of the schoolhouse, like at, 25 yards, and you would be like a relay race. So everybody's you're competing against the other tow gunners, trying to set all this shit up. There's a bunch of different pieces, and this one dude, he's running the instructors, like hurry up, fast, whatever. And this one kid, it's in the wintertime, slips on ice, with this 64-pound thing, and just crunch, breaks his collarbone. Like shouts. They don't care. They're like, gun's got to go up, bro. So had him go through the whole thing, and then like afterwards, he was like, I think there's something wrong. And they were like, all right, you fucking bitch, go to the aid station. So then he got rolled. I ended up seeing him later on, but yeah, I went through that whole course and did well. But yeah, once that happened, they were just like all these things. They were like, you fucking lied on your eye exam. And so then it became the liar. Like I was the liar. So everybody's like, you're the liar. Like Jesus, it wasn't a good, dude, it was horrible. And I was like, I'm not lying. And like,
so it took a little longer because you had to go somewhere else.
Dude. And then so they gave me the option. They were like, well, you can't be a tow gunner. So I'm like, all right. So like you can go be we want to keep you in because so they have weapons platoon or weapons company, depending on, what you're shooting. They're like, so we want to keep you in weapons. You can go be, but the only slot we have open right now is mortarman, or you can go be an 0311, and you do a series of rucks in SOI. And I was like, I ain't fucking humping no goddamn 80 millimeter mortar, bro, or a base plate. I'm like, we'll go with the 11s. Like, let's get some of that. And I went and did that and loved it. And it was, just changed my whole. Had to change my rep because even when I went over there, like the shitty sergeant that was like their stake bed driver, the little Aaron bitch, he was like, where are you coming from? And I told him, and he was like, oh, you're the liar. And they were like, the liar's here, and just like pranced around everywhere. I was just like, liar's here, and like I was like, oh my god. So yeah, I spent a little more time at SOI than I needed to, and then.
But you graduated with. It's like 2 MOSs, but
which
was
I don't know how,
like a mistake or
I
whatever,
literally made it to like the last day of like I passed everything but that test, and I actually when we were doing so they just made me continue because they didn't know what to do with me, so they made me continue going through the course, and then the lead instructor. So you have like your schoolhouse instructors, and then you have your your company instructors who are like the leadership that just moves you from point A to point B. So the schoolhouse instructors were really good. They were locked on. We respected them. The company instructors for SOI at the time were like all the problem children in the fleet, like the guys pending DUIs or they beat their wives or whatever the hell was going on. Like they all had issues. So they're kind of pieces of shit. And so because of that, my initial SOI experience, there were so many people who went AWOL. And like I'd be sleeping in the barracks and I'd wake up at 2 a.m. just to like roll over or whatever. There'd be a dude with like a backpack just walking out, and I'd be like, what the fuck's going on? And I'd look out the window, you see a cab that like got onto, and they just fucking leave. There was like a shit ton of them. Wow. And then but our classroom instructors were good. And I had this dude, he looked like DMX, and his name was Perkins Welcher, and the other guys called him Pee Weezy, and he was like this super intense. He'd talk like this, and like he'd walk around the classroom with a baseball bat, and then he would like, you're trying to take a test on whatever, and he'd be like, write the fucking answer, and then wham, like on the table or whatever. And one of the last tests you do is everybody's got to be in a Humvee, and without getting out of the Humvee, 4 people have to set up the tow system in the turret. So it's this big muskrat fucking in a box thing. And there's a time hack to it. So he pairs me up with 3 other really solid dudes, and we're banging this thing out. We're crushing it. And then he lines everybody up because everybody's fucking it up. And he goes and he looks at us 4, and he's like, these 4 motherfuckers are the only ones who are going to pass this course. And he's like, and this one can't even be a tow gunner because his eyes suck or whatever. And then like, so I don't know how it happened.
Yeah. That's funny.
That was like a paperwork discrepancy that they gave me that MOS, and then I went and became an 0311 and I got that MOS.
Nice.
But that's what Kelly saw when I came.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. He's like,
yeah, you're a fucking weapons guy. You know what to do. So,
yeah, that's funny. But so when you went from that, how long did it take to get to the like the actual, like when you went fleet? To the MEB or the fleet, right?
Yeah. So so it's like, it was the Army call, everything in the Army is like the force. after you graduate or whatever.
Yeah.
That's like their
Uh-huh.
term. So the fleet is just the mystical place after all your training is done. Like that is where your unit is in the fleet. And then, you get like towards the end of SOI, they'll put like all these papers on the wall that have your name and then a unit assigned to it. And in the Marine Corps, they call them all Victor units. So you're looking like, like 1826, whatever it is. So I'm looking, and I forget where I was originally assigned. Me and like 6 other dudes, I think we were assigned to like 18, which is on Camp Lejeune. So graduation happens, and like parents come. So graduation happened inside, parents come, and then it's the whole auditorium is ringed by like actual Marines who have just come back from combat. So they're all like just standing there with their arms folded, just like looking over their covers. And you're just like, oh my God, like what's gonna happen?
Well, yeah, because I'm sure that's like the thing going on. Like there's like the errant theme that's going on the entire fucking thing. Because you're just like, oh, we're going to war.
Yeah,
that's what's
and
happening.
they're coming to pick you up and bring you to their whatever assigned regiment you're going to. So so as soon as that drops, as soon as you get a hug from mom and dad, now all the names start calling, and then everybody's like, Victor 1-6, and they'll call out the names and whatever. So they're doing this. Our names don't get called, so we're just standing there like, no one wants to dance with us, and everybody kind of leaves, and we don't have a home. So our SOI instructors were like, well, just go back to the barracks. So, and of course my parents was just like, when are we going out to eat? Like, what are we doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a unit. I don't know what's going on. And then I think it was might have been the battalion XO or the battalion S3, some major, very nice guy. He comes in to 6 brand new Marines and just talks to us like a human being. He's just like, what's going on, guys? And we're like, oh, nothing, sir. And he's like, you guys don't have a unit? And he's like, no. He's like, where are you supposed to go? And we're like, wherever it was, 18. He's like, well, 18's currently in Iraq, and they're on like month 3. He's like, so you're not going there. And we're like, oh, okay. And he's like, have you ever thought about coming to 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines? And we were like, I don't know. And he's like, would you like to go there? And we're like, yeah, sure. I guess we'll go. I mean, like, if you want us to. And so he's like, all right. He's like, grab all your gear, go throw it in the 7 tons that are outside. He's like, you'll know them because they look different from everyone else's. And we're like, okay. So we go out there, and it's all these 7 tons fucking lined up on Camp Geiger that people are just chucking their shit in for every different unit. And they all look the same. And I'm like, what is this guy talking about? And then there's 7 tons on the mud flaps have Punisher skulls. And I was like,
sick.
Oh, okay. So then I walked up to like one of the drivers. I was like, hey there, Lance Corporal. I'm like, are you with, 2nd Marine Regiment or whatever the hell? And he was like, yeah. And he's like, shut the fuck up and throw your shit on the truck. I was like, okay. So did that. And then, drove the short way over to Camp Lejeune and went to 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines. And then you don't get your company assignment. You'll get it, but you don't get it like right then and there. So you got to get like your in brief. And some salty E5 comes in on the bus. It starts like giving you the scoop as he sees it of like what's going on in 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines. And he's like, you got headquarters company. He's like, and then you got Easy, Fox, and Gulf. And he's given the lowdown on each one of these companies. He goes, whatever you do, you don't want to go to Golf Company. And someone's like, why don't you want to go to Golf Company? And he's like, because all they do is ruck. And that's it. He's like, their fucking commanding officer is insane. And I was just like, I'm standing there. And I was just like, I don't want to go to Golf Company. So and as luck would have it, as they're calling out all the names of who's going where, I had a buddy, Taylor. And so you're hearing like all these names being called. Hey, you're going to Fox Company. You're going to Easy Company. You're a weapons dude. You're going to headquarters to be in Weapons Company. So they're calling out all this shit. Taylor gets called. Taylor gets Golf Company. And I just look at him. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, you've been touched. I'm like, you're a condemned man. And then like 30 seconds later, printer, Golf. And I was just like, oh no. So yeah, you go get your in brief, and then you grab all your shit, and then to the point of me always wanting to be in the Marine Corps, and it was not my idea of what the Marine Corps was because of probably going through the Young Marine program and thinking like everything was like spit polished and like
sabers and
yeah, like
sabers and standing there
dress
and
blues
like
and spinning
eagles
rifles
flying.
Yeah,
And,
and we're all Marines. Like a very naive look at what the Marine Corps actually is, especially the infantry. And so I had like a tough time. I eventually fully embraced that. And I am who I am to this day because of that. But back then I was like, you must get a high and tight. You must like look presentable at all times. And then I walk into the golf company office, and it was one of the most intense things I have seen because of the amount of, so it's like, it's a big open box, and then it has platoon spaces that are just cubicles. And it's like ferocious yelling, papers being thrown, people screaming, people losing their shit, and everything's being, and it's violent and it's chaotic. And like all of us who just got there are all like leaned up, like standing next to the wall. And so everybody knows who the new guys are, because at that time, if you're getting ready to deploy, you would wear desert camouflage. And if you weren't going anywhere, then you'd wear your woodlands. So the whole fucking unit's in deserts, and we're standing in woodlands. So we stick out like a sore thumb. So then all this shit's going on, and then the company clerk, this salty Lance Corporal, who's got like, I don't know how many deployments he had, but his camis are like bleached white from the sun. He's got rips in them. And I'm like, who is this piece of shit? And then he was just like, he asked us for our email addresses. And so everybody's spelling them, and my fucking heart sank. I'm like, because I only had one email address.
And it was like 77.
Yeah, like
it was
Spitfire 24.
So I spelled it out. I didn't want to say it, so I spell out my email address, and he just stops, and he just looks up, and I'm like, oh no, because my email address was USMC badass. So cringy, dude. Oh, so in the middle of this, like,
your aim profile was probably awesome.
Oh,
like
God,
you were just
dude.
like, oh man, yeah, we're getting on this fucking
so bad.
Oh man,
so bad. So he did exactly what I would have done, and he called an all stop to all the shenanigans in the company office.
This guy's the badass.
Then,
do you guys know this guy?
Yep,
He's a badass.
That's exactly almost verbatim on how that went. And then everybody chimed in. And then, of course, someone was like, what fucking platoon is that piece of shit going to? So he's like, he's going to first platoon. And they were just like, hey, this is your fucking retard. And like, but so, yeah. And then you grab your linen. And then when you're going to the barracks, it's like, the movie Jarhead kind of got it a little bit right, where when Jake Gyllenhaal's character gets to the fleet and he goes to the barracks for the first time, and everybody's just leaning on the catwalk in like boots and utes or no shirts on, drinking beer, like looking down. It was like that, but like it was like, I've never been to prison. I can only imagine that was probably the closest, hopefully, I'll ever get to it, because it was like, dude,
Fresh meat.
Oh. All combat vets.
Oh yeah.
All dudes who have seen the fucking elephant, and they just want to fucking tear your head off. And they're all just drinking beer, spitting down next to you, trying to hit you. Like no one's talking to you. And then
when did you change your email address?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. That fucking thing's probably still floating around out there. But and then they make you do the first thing you do after you put your linens in your room is they do a police call, which is like kind of a tradition. I didn't know it at the time. So they're like, the thing was, it's like they wouldn't just ask for boots. They'd be like, or bodies or whatever. They'd be like, if you don't have a fucking combat action ribbon, get the fuck outside in the quad right now. So everybody, like, it's all us. So we're out there and we're like, bet. And they're like, police call. And they're like, and then there's one Lance Corporal who's like, no fucking faster than me. So then he starts walking and we're picking up cigarette butts and whatever. Then you hear all this shit falling. and you turn around, and the entire barracks
It's throwing shit out
is
the
just
window.
fucking humming shit down, cutting trash bags open and shaking them out, and then they're throwing beer bottles at you while you're fucking going, so you're dodging this shit. The barracks were insane back then.
Fucking mayhem.
Fucking insane. You never wanted to leave your room, like as a new guy, ever. Not leave your room. And we made the mistake of not locking the door, then locking the door, but not locking the window. And you just have some drunk vet in your room at 3 a.m. who's just like, wait, just working through his PTSD from his last deployment, but doesn't know how because he's like 20.
Wake up, you fucking turds.
Wake up, you piece of shit. And then he would just set like a case of beer in the middle of the room, and he'd just be like,
Drink all these right
all
now.
these right now, immediately. And then I'm like, oh my God. And then, yeah, or they'd have like fight night on like Friday nights out there, and all sorts of fucking wild.
That's awesome.
fucking
So how long?
shit.
I mean, obviously they were in their deserts and stuff, but how long were you there before you actually got ready to deploy, or realized that they were deploying?
No, they knew they were going. They just didn't. They knew they were going to Iraq. They didn't know what part. I got there in February of '05, and then we left July of '05.
Did it change after that though? Like, I mean, like when did it, like, I guess when did you become the fucking?
Not until you get back.
Not till you get back.
There's a
right?
little
It's
bit.
like-
There's a little bit of it eases off a little bit when everybody's dealing with the same shit. But as soon as sandbags need to get filled,
yeah.
as soon as like something needs to be done.
So where'd you go in Iraq?
We went to Karma was our AO, which is right outside of Fallujah. In fact, Wikipedia says it was the most dangerous place in 2005, and I think part of that was probably because there's no. It was just like a way station for whoever wanted to attack coalition forces. So there was no wall around the city, so it was just weapons and insurgents just like free flowed through the city. And initially, so one company had Karma proper, and then the rest of us had like big swaths of land that were like our AO. But then Golf Company they took it away from one of the other companies, and they ended up putting us in Karma to handle it, which, I mean, I guess we did. But yeah, it was definitely the Wild West. Fucking spicy. Definitely.
Yeah.
What was the main effort of your mission there? Was it patrols, or was it like?
Yeah, it was, at the time they phrased it as like SASO, security and stability operations. So, and what it turned into was saturation patrols, like just around the clock, nonstop. There will never be a sector in this city that does not have an American boot in it for less than like 30 seconds. And it was just exhausting. So, and it was just because it was such a problem, because there was so many attacks, there was so many IEDs, booby traps, snipers, that the only way. And they were sneaky, and they were good about it. And the only way that we could deny them their freedom of movement was to just run ourselves ragged and just saturate the whole area with dudes on patrols. Mm. So that was super tiring. And then like the last month I was there, I went out with scout snipers and worked with them, just pulling, because their ROEs changed from like they couldn't go out with 4-man teams. That's a Marine Corps state team is 4 guys, 2 shooters, 2 spotters, and they needed security by the new rules. So they would just.
How many people do they need?
I think they needed 6 total, just 2 additional dudes, but they don't have the manpower for that. So they would just. They got the permission from the company commanders, and then every platoon had to give up 2 dudes, and it was usually like they're not going to like the platoons aren't going to give them their shit bags, and the stay guys aren't going to accept people that can't handle their shit. So there's a lot of questions asked about who those 2 people are going to be. And I just got tagged for it out of nowhere. Had no idea what the hell I was doing.
You're usually carrying ammo for them or whatever. You just need the body, but like
they just needed the body for like rear security, but like wherever the fuck they went. And I don't know what the fuck I was doing. Like I just got woken up one night by because they all talk like surfers. So I get woken up by Tutu's one of the scout team leaders or one of the sniper team leaders, and he comes in. He's just like, "Hey, dude, are you Printer?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, check it, man. You're coming out with us in about an hour." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "We're gonna be out there for like 3 days, and we're going green side." And then just like fades into the shadows. And he told my buddy Steve the same thing. So I'm sitting there like rubbing fucking shit out of my eyes. And I was like, "Steve," he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "What the fuck is Greenside, bro?" And he's like, "Oh, he means we're going to be in the vegetation." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "All right, so I guess I'll fucking pack." And so we just packed our shit and went and rolled with those guys and just froze my balls off wherever they went. Just in elephant grass with a pull cord of 550 cord with different tugs meaning different things with like a sniper veil like on my head, just on a canal, just with this wad of shit and like my gun just sitting there. And then like, you know, if a car passed, there would be X amount of tugs. If someone was walking, it would be another tug. If you see something, if someone was gonna like walk up on you, it'd be like rapid tugs. These fuckers put like, it's like us as rear security, and then the sniper and spotter who are on like rest and radio watch, and then like the guys actually on the gun and glass, like in the hide site or whatever, a little further. So I had the pull string went between us and the guys on like rest and radio watch, and it was maybe like 20 fucking feet in between the two of us through this elephant grass. But they had like 200 feet of 550 cord all on my end. So I had this big ball of, like, I'm serious, like this big ball of bullshit. And then old boy would have it like wrapped around his wrist. So like when he's like trying to like eat something or move or shift, and I had it around my wrist, my hand would be like, I'd be just sitting there, and then my hand would be like, zzz, zzz, and I'd be like, "Oh shit, there's someone walking." And then my hand would go like this because he's trying to pull slack. So then I'm pulling slack through the bushes, and then you get the muffled like, "Fuck you with the fucking thing." So yeah, it was an experience. It was definitely an experience. Sure. But
did you have a first firefight over there at that point?
Yeah, I don't. It might have been like, I think it was. July or the beginning of August. We were in a school, and later on, this same school we were in is where our lieutenant would get killed. But this was our initial going in. So our in hindsight being 2020, like this wasn't a good like SOP to set up, but we would always set up in schools. And we created a pattern of life like that first month we were there, because the schools are usually, they're like a compound, like 2 stories. Nobody's in them. 2 stories, courtyard, gate, big wall that goes around the whole fucking thing.
Makes sense.
So it was like a good, like you could go firm in this thing and run operations out there, because we would run operations. You'd be out there for a month, and then you'd come back main side for 2 days, and then just keep on doing that shit over and over again. So you're just living like gypsies. And so you're in this place called Shahabi. And that was like the fucking OK Corral. That was like, soon as we rolled up into this village, like the shutters got closed, the tumbleweeds came across the street. And we were just like, God damn, we're getting fucking spooky vibes. So we're in this school, and it's fucking hot. And it was probably like, it probably dropped down to like 100 or something at night. And I was the platoon RTO. So I'm like taking care of all the radios. So I'm like, all right, there's a radio. They set up like a post on this corner with the, you know, whatever the 119 or whatever the fuck, big fucking green gear radio that you should mount in a truck.
Yeah,
and we're hoofing it around. But they have this, that's where like the radio watch is. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go bring him the radio that I have. I'm going to take that radio apart, and I'm going to clean it, and then I'm going to use that radio. I'm like kind of swapping them around, make sure everything's good. So I'm on the second floor. There's a catwalk in the interior that overlooks the balcony. I take my my vest off, my butt, like I am pretty much naked except for I got Ranger panties on, and my boots are still on, but my pants are around my ankles. And I have this fucking radio in a backpack that I slung, and I got my gun, and I go waddling over to where the post was, and I start taking apart their radio. And then out of nowhere, a whoosh and a fucking transformer. This is like, I don't know, probably midnight or something. It was dark. Transformer explodes super close to the school. And I'm like, and I'm like, it's going. And everybody and their grandmother starts shooting. And I'm essentially naked. I got nothing going on. And now now everybody's running, grabbing gear, doing a thing. And I'm like, oh shit. So I fuck it. So while people are running past me, like a movie scene.
Pull your pants up.
Yeah, dude. I'm doing the fucking.
Why is your pants around your ankles?
Because it was hot. And I just wanted to like air everything out.
Oh, okay. I just would assume you would have just took them off.
No.
Okay.
No, well, because I wanted to keep my boots on so that way I could just like quickly pull them up. But I had a disassembled radio in a fucking bag, and I'm the platoon RTO. So now all this shit pops off. So I don't know where my leadership is. I have a disassembled radio, and I'm partially naked. So now I gotta like get my shit together super quick. So like I throw a bunch of shit on. I don't button anything up. I'm a soup sandwich. I got my fucking helmet's on, all cockeyed, my chin strap hanging. I put the radio together real fast, and then eventually I found my way up to. I did some other things, but eventually I found my way up to the rooftop to where our LT was, and we ended up calling everything in. And we had our mortarmen. They had put mortarmen in every platoon for whatever reason at the time. And that dude was it's just one dude with a handheld 60 just launching looms like it was his fucking job. Just poof! And everybody, it's just this wall of fucking fire just going out into the village shooting anything. I was like, and funny enough, our company XO was out there, and he was a Rhode Island boy.
Oh, shit.
And out of nowhere, this fucking dude doesn't really know me, and I'm like a junior guy. Out of nowhere, he's on the other side of the rooftop. There's big firefights going on, and he just shouts over everything. He's like, Predator! And I was just like, oh shit, maybe he needs a radio. So I was like, sir, and he's like, it's like Odeyville, right? And I was just like, so I was like, what? And then, yeah, so that was like the first.
How long until your deployment did this happen?
How long into it? Probably like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good. It
like-
set a precedence.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long couple weeks waiting because we knew it. Like when we left, we knew where we were going. The guys who were there before us, they got pretty dinged up. We knew it was a bad place. It's the Ambar. Then we get there and you're just fucking walking around.
We're just waiting
for something to fucking pop off. And then, it did. And, nothing really came of that. There was just like this big exchange of fire back and forth.
It was a random just attack, and they're like,
yeah. And I think when we like talked about it afterwards and years later, and I think what had happened was, we called them Zulu patrols. Like every time you went firm, it was like your security patrol. So you'd send out patrols like wherever. So the squad that was going out, I think like the insurgency that was based out of this village was getting ready to like do like something to us inside this school. And these guys getting ready at the front gate, their shadows bouncing around and everything, like spooked, like somebody, probably the dude with the RPG or whatever he used to blow the transformer up. But and then that kicked off this whole shit show of a firefight. And then it was back to business. What a deployment is, just a lot of patrolling.
Yeah.
We didn't have the city at that point. We still had these outlying villages. So just a lot of trying to gather intel, figure out the who's who of the bad guys, check the HVT list, doing surveillance on who the fuck ever.
What's the sticking point on that deployment? Like, what do you think about now?
The ROEs sucked.
Yeah.
They were so restrictive. And they loosened it up later on, but like at the cost of a lot of fucking lives.
Yeah.
Like my company, we had 7 guys KIA. I think the battalion total had 18. and the ROEs like did not change until probably like the last 2 months, to where like if you even kick dirt on the side of the road, like you can shoot them.
What was the ROEs at the time? Because when I went, 2010,
Yeah.
it was like show, shout, and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the same ones.
That's like, that got created to the point where they embedded the guys who were in I think it was Fox Company had the city at the time. And I think it was Newsweek. They had a fucking reporter come out and interview the couple Fox Company dudes. And it was a couple fucking Lance corporals that they interviewed who were, they're going to tell you straight up what it is. So they're quoted and it like blew up. I remember like the fucking who's who in the battalion was so pissed because the reporter asked this dude like, "Oh, you're watching this road, like what's the rules of engagement?" And this Lance Corporal starts bitching about the rules of engagement, and it's all quoted in this Newsweek article.
Shit.
So he's like, "Oh, I don't know." I'm like, "You can't just like shoot a tire. Now you got to like wave to him, shine a flashlight, make him a fucking ham sandwich, and like, do all this stuff." And he's saying all this shit.
And shit.
Yeah, and he's like, "It's all fucking quoted in there, just bashing these ROEs."
You guys didn't reach out to your public affairs.
No, dude, who knows? I don't even know if I saw a combat camera when I was over there. I didn't even know where I was in Iraq until Snowden did his fucking WikiLeaks, and I was looking up Blue Force tracker shit to see like where in the country I actually was located.
Because you're so green and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, I had no fucking idea what was going on. I knew my little piece of the pie, and I knew like who to not piss off and what made a good infantryman and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a bigger clue on anything.
How long was the deployment?
That was 6 months.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So you came back home after that, and like, or not even back home, but back to obviously, back to your base or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, now you were obviously one of those like, oh, I got my shit. Like now, all those new guys coming in, like kind of stuff like that. Yeah. Got the car. So now, like, what was your experience after that? At that point?
Yeah. So because I worked with the state platoon for like that month, they were like, "Hey, why don't you come and do the in-doc and come to Scout Sniper platoon?" So at the time, I was like, "Well, fucking, like, oh me, you picked me, and gee whiz." And so I was like all about it. And like my platoon sergeant was a Scout Sniper and had a lot of experience in that. He ended up becoming the chief scout later on. But so I had these plans. I was gonna go do this. I was gonna take the in-doc, and but then I met 2-2's chief scout, and I didn't fucking like him. He was just an arrogant dickhead. And after I met him and saw like how and I don't know, I never worked with him. This is just like first impressions of like just how he communicated with like people around him. And I didn't really hear a lot of good things about him per se. The state team that I worked with was awesome. They were great guys. But I knew I was going to be underneath this guy. And at the time I was like, I just got married. Well, I got married before I left. I just had a kid. I was just moving into a house. And then I didn't want to go back. I just went through all this shit, saw a bunch of dudes I know get killed, like all this stuff. And I didn't want to be a new guy again. And you go through this big hazing process through your in-doc. And if you don't have a school date, like you're just going to keep running that fucking in-doc like every month and just being the bitch boys, being a pig for the hogs in the state. And I didn't want to do that. And I definitely disappointed my platoon sergeant because I was the only one. There was a bunch of names that went up for the company, and the CO was only letting one dude go, and he let me. And then I
was like, no.
And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then he was like, why the fuck not? And I was like, because I just got a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to, I was trying to excuse my way out of it. But I didn't want to do it. I think the biggest thing I didn't want to do is like after coming back from that deployment, I didn't want to walk through a field screaming oink oink I'm a pig for hours on end. I was like, I just
wasn't fucking done with that shit.
I was like, I just don't want to do this. And some guys were okay with doing that, and that's fine. I just at the time I didn't. So I became a squad leader, and then there was like a transitional period where I had all the senior guys, like my buddy Chris, who was like my senior, my mentor guy. Now he's in my squad because he's getting out, so he's just filling a space. He doesn't really have a role. And now I have to like corral these vets that are getting out and go do like field ops with them. And these guys don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's tough.
So how the fuck am I going to say boo? Like we did like a battalion level training thing, and we went to a company defense, and we were like digging fighting positions, and like all the fucking fighting positions were retarded. They were all like knee deep. Like these like the battalion staff officers that hadn't deployed yet are coming around with like their painted faces and like poo-pooing our training status.
That is not one M4 fucking length.
Yeah, like
that is
exactly.
not 2-4. Yeah.
And then like, you know, he looks over and there's a dude sitting underneath a tree lighting pine cones on fire and throwing them at his buddy like in another hole. Like it just wasn't. I know. And like one of the dudes ended up, because they were like doing like this grading thing, and one of these officers ended up pulling me aside. He's like, "Hey, who's the squad leader?" And I was like, "That'd be me."
That's tough.
And so he pulls me aside, and he's like looking around at all the shenanigans, and he's looking at me, and he's like, "Brand new squad leader," and I was like, "Yeah, yes sir." And he's like, "These are all the senior guys," and I was like, "Oh,
that's fair."
And then he was like, "All right," he's like, "Carry on."
Yeah, that's fair.
Fucking understood. That's good. That's good.
Which was good. So, and then eventually they moved on to do some, whatever job for the last like couple months that they were in, and then we got our brand new guys. We got our boots, and hazed the shit out of the first group, and the first group was awesome. And then some kid complained, some kid in a different platoon complained to his mom, who called the congressman.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I was gonna say, who's he? I'm like, who's he complaining to?
Yeah. And then big investigation happened. Story of my fucking life, eh? Big investigation happened.
While you're squad leader.
And then it was like the microscope was under us. So the second group didn't really get hazed, and there was a noticeable difference between the two of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get it. It sucks. It's uncomfortable. And this kid fucked up doing something, and then his team leader made him put all his gear on and stand in the shower and read the infantry manual, the 6-5, like page 1, like the copyright information. Like that's where he was starting at, and just screaming it from the shower as like, you know, he's just getting fucking wet or soaked. And it was probably cold water, and it was. But what do you? I mean, you know, there's.
You can make them hard. Right? Like, I mean,
yeah, there's like.
There's a balance, but yeah,
there is, and that kid wasn't. That kid.
Yeah, he's just fucking weak to start with.
He was definitely a weak kid, because everybody caught something, but the difference was like on the back when it's weird, right? Because you got a bunch of like 18 to 23 year olds who have either seen combat. So the majority of them have seen combat and everything that comes with that. And then you have a new batch of 18-year-old kids that comes in. So it's like it's like prison rules, man. And it's just, you know, you have this massive experience and lived 1,000 lifetimes that no one else on earth is really ever going to experience, that being war and combat. But yet you don't have like all the wise wisdom of the world as you take multiple trips around the sun on Mother Earth. So your connection point to do certain things isn't really there. So that's why you have, you know, you have the hazing of the day.
Well, I think in the combat arms, it's like, especially in the infantry, because I've had so many arguments with people, because in the military, people don't get it. People think just because you're in the military, we all think the same. But no, there's like subcultures.
Yeah.
Because you have admin people who like, you know, handle your pay, and then you have like photographers and mechanics. So I get that within that culture, you don't need to be as aggressive.
For sure.
But in the infantry, people don't understand. And I remember when I reclassed to public affairs, I had an argument with some guy who was in the Navy. Of course, like, yes, you don't need that for every soldier, and it's not applicable for every situation. But in combat arms, we're trying to make the most resilient warriors we can.
Yeah.
So if like this haze is gonna break you, I don't want you to be in the fight with me.
Yeah.
Like that people don't understand. Like, being resilient means that you're able to self-soothe and bounce back no matter what adversity is coming through you. And when we go to fucking war, we are presented with the most awful, horrendous situations. Yeah. Of course, that applies to every soldier or Marine, because, like, you know, you never know with war. But when you're an infantryman, you're raising your hand to put yourself in the worst situation possible. Yeah. So, like, people who get upset about hazing, because I talked to my sister about it. Obviously, she's just a civilian. She doesn't get it. And I try to tell her, I was like, it's a fucking tool.
Yeah. And that's what, I think that's the thing. It's a tool. And then what happens is you have, like, shit that falls. So, unfortunately, I think the 10,000-foot view when you start looking at like hazing would be how, like, you and I are going to define.
Well, it's how and why.
Well, it's
right?
how,
like, so,
well,
like,
for sure.
It's not just like, oh, hey, you know, I'm gonna make you do this because there's no reason for it, or like if there's a reason which makes sense, like, and those ones where you're like just destroying people for like stupid shit.
Yeah,
it makes sense. It not to other people, but it makes sense to us now, right? Because you're just like, well, if you're gonna break here, then like you're gonna break when the fucking fire starts.
Like, we gotta patrol all day,
like,
and then we gotta react to contact, and then we gotta fucking hoof back to base. Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, the suck that you have to go through, like, and it's just like a normal thing at this point. Like, for me and my, like, I mean, long career at this point, but like, the suck at this point is like kind of the minimal thing, right? It's like, it's just, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that if you build that up to an extent, then that's what you're gonna get, right? You're gonna get somebody that's just like, okay, yeah. It just is like, and you're going to be in these situations where that you have to deal with it, and you put a better perspective if you've been through a little bit of the crucible, like a little bit of, like, you know, this stuff.
I think
that is a tough topic, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, because I'm also of the mindset, like, I think combat arms, specifically the infantry, there should be. In my opinion, there should be a different set of standards than everybody else, because trying to define hazing and blanket that over, pick your branch, whatever, it's gonna look different everywhere you go. And they try to define it, and they try to say, like, if it's personal or it's whatever. But then what it becomes is to your point, that you don't build in resiliency. If you don't build in resiliency, and then you have these regulations in place, that's pretty much like, if someone hurts your feelings, you can make a complaint, because they're so broad, they're not specific. Then you open up the door for a lot of problems. When at the end of the fucking day, if you are in combat arms, and specifically the infantry community, like, your job is to do the fucking dark business of, you know, on behalf of the American people. Yeah. And there's a price that comes with that. So leniency should be given to these communities with like training and oversight. So that way you can do some of these things. You can, you know, and you can, I mean, we say it in the Guard, you can still smoke people, and you can still do things. And the flavor's changed because there's no looming combat deployment on the back end of our training like it was back then. So that's probably why a lot of, you know, you could get away with a lot of shit.
Because
back in 04, 05.
Yeah, because you're building up to like that. Yeah. Like,
let's get piss real quick.
And you could say,
are we all going to do that?
Where are we going?
Yeah. We all going to pee?
Yeah. Oh, shit.
All right, pause. Everybody pause. Where were we?
It's brought to you by Piss Break.
Yeah, you were at
So
coming back from deployment,
Yep.
and then essentially, dealing with all that stuff. We talked about
hazing
and stuff. Obviously, it's a different culture, and we got to kind of figure stuff out as it goes. But combat arms, definitely needs a little different picture from certain things.
For all the colonels watching out there, I think Seco does a really good job balancing that. So thank you. There's a little shameless plug for it's fucking Seco.
Well, this video actually gets around, so
it does. And I mean, I think both companies, at least in Rowland Guard, deal with it well. And we have some spectacular soldiers, so it's pretty in the majority of them, I would have to say. I wouldn't.
Well, yeah, you're pulling from a different pool of people, because like you're not like in the Guard, you're not just getting. It's not like how it is in active duty where you're getting a dump of 18-year-olds, so you have to treat these 18-year-old savages a certain way, and sometimes you're gonna treat them like dogs. You're gonna get the boot in the heel. But when you're in the Guards and you got people who are in college, they're doing a whole bunch of different. Some of them have careers already or whatever they're doing. It's
different. It's a totally different aspect.
Totally different aspect. You gotta be.
I mean, speaking of Guard, like, so, I guess you did that deployment. You came back. You went on another deployment in Iraq or Afghanistan.
No. We got assigned to the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit, and then we flew. They're like for people who don't know, a MEU is just you're pretty much like a forward deployed battle group.
Yeah, it's like a contingency force.
And there's a couple different ones, and they float Westpac or the Med where we were, and then just a lot of bilateral training, different countries. We call them Liberty ports or liberal ports. Going out getting cocked. I got in trouble. The same day Brennan was born. So I had a lot to answer to, and then I'm up on the flight deck with my CO's phone, like hiding between aircraft, like calling home, trying to sound sober, being like, "Oh boy, is it a boy or a girl? What's its name?" So, that was a typical like old school Marine Corps experience. Was that MEU? It fucking sucked to be on. That was like prison 2.0 because you're on a ship and you don't, as a Marine, you don't have dick for responsibilities on a ship. You don't do anything on a ship. You're just there. So you work out like 1,000 times a day. Then the Good Idea Ferry just runs amok on that through your chain of command, who are just teach the same class that you've taught for the last fucking 2 weeks, teach that again. And then you just get creative with what you're going to do, different things to do. And in retrospect, it was a good opportunity because we just went through that deployment where we lost so many guys. We thought we were going to go back to Afghanistan. We were actually the MEU that deployed MARSOC for the first time. And then they summarily got kicked out of Afghanistan. But yeah, I mean, it was,
so nothing super crazy,
nothing
whatever.
Crazy.
How's the vibes with the sailors there? I mean, because you're all in the Navy, are you kind of like, there's a respect, or they just look at you like how, like, you guys are a bunch of fucking homeless?
What do you think of Navy?
So, honestly, I got nothing but respect. At the time, being where I was and who I was with and what I had done, like, we were all cocky punks that just were like high school bullies that just roamed the ship. So the Navy's got all these like Marine Corps infantry, Army infantry, like your separation between officer and enlisted isn't really a thing because you're doing the same shit with those guys. So there's that the respect has to, like, those guys got to earn that shit.
Yeah, but there's like a class structure, like a significant class structure
on a ship
ships,
that we were not aware of.
It's fucking wild.
So every little thing, like if you're an officer and I'm enlisted, and you're walking down a passageway, and we come to there's bulkheads, there's hatches in the fucking way or whatever. So they're called knee knockers because they come up to like shin height that you got to step over, right? If you ever done Battleship Massachusetts, you'll see them. So if I see you coming, the correct thing to do is to stand off to the side, let you walk through first, and then me give you like a greeting of a day. And you'll hear it from these Navy guys if you don't do that. And I would blatantly not follow these directions.
Okay, yeah.
And they'd be like, what are you doing, Marine? And I'd be like, walking through the fucking passageway, sir. That's what I'm doing. And like go wherever I was. Yeah, there's just ship life is like completely different. You're just you're on there, you're doing what training you can. We actually fucking rucked like 12 miles on the goddamn ship because that's what we did in Gulf.
No, that makes sense. It's something we would probably do too.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Yeah, keep making fucking circles. Here's a chem light you have to wear in case you fall off the ship in the middle of the night. They can fucking see you. Yeah, and then, you know, there's like general quarters was like the best thing that would happen because it would shut everything down. Because Marines, again, you don't have a responsibility. So when they do general quarters, so everything gets blasted over the 1MC all day long, and the 1MC is like the speaker that's for the whole ship, where they make announcements. And I had a fucking speaker box right by my rack. I was on the top rack of 4, these little coffin racks, like 3 by 3 by 6 something was your little space, and you're fucking packed in there. And everybody's like sick of everybody's shit. They're on edge. Fights break out all the time, and everybody doesn't give a shit. They're all hooting and hot, like best friends fight. Like you're taking your day out, and no one's breaking that shit up because everybody's so frustrated.
Yeah.
And then I got this box that squawks 100 times a day about bullshit with their little whistles that denote whatever the fuck. And then there's a fucking Bushmaster 25 millimeter chain gun outside the fucking wall that they'll do gunnery on. Like the same thing that's in Bradley's. They got that thing where some sailor hooks his body into it and then off the side of that thing's on the side. So I ripped the wires out of the 1MC box. I'm like, I don't want to hear any of these fucking announcements. But general quarters, when it would go off, like all the Marines had to go back to their berthing area. And then it would be like movie and nap time for however long the Navy played their war game for, and then that'd be it. So you slept a lot. Like all the sleep I didn't get on my first deployment, I recouped it on my second deployment. And then we just, go a bunch of different places, do a bunch of different things, get in trouble all over the place.
Yeah. So what made you, I guess, at that point, where were you at in your enlistment, and what? I guess because after that is when you left the Marines, correct? Yeah,
so we got back from that deployment, and then I was done. I was like a lot of my friends became a lot of them got out, and then a small group of them who stayed in went to become mountain warfare instructors in Bridgeport, California. That was like the thing to do. So everybody was getting like cut, or they were like, "Oh, come to Bridgeport. We're in the mountains, bro." And at the time, I was like, "Nah." Like I there's too much fucking shenanigans. Like all that. Like I don't.
Well, you got a family at that point too,
and that was the big thing.
Like,
excuse me. My big impetus for getting out was just I wanted to be a dad. I had these 2 kids. My lieutenant that got killed, his wife was pregnant at the same time my wife was pregnant, and just kind of like how that plays on the psyche. And I was just like, I have an opportunity here to like get out and be a dad and be like a really, really good dad. And that's all I wanted. I didn't give a shit about anything else. I was like, I just want to go be a dad. So we got back from that deployment, and then I had 6 months left, and the Marine Corps was like, the op tempo was so high, and they were throwing cash money at people to stay in.
How old were you at the time?
I think I was maybe 22.
22 years old,
maybe
family man.
21, 22,
Seen
2
war.
kids,
Okay.
wife, yeah. And so because they have to have the spaces for the new guys to come in to the unit, they got to get rid of everybody who's getting out, but you're still got 6 months left on your contract. So you get what's called FAP'd out, Fleet Assistance Program, which is you just do menial jobs around the base. And the only thing, this is like the mystical, magical wizard, is the FAP officer, which sounds real weird. But you got to go find the FAPO, like somewhere. No one knows. So you're talking to a dude, you're like, Billy from 2-8 went and saw the FAP officer. Be like, what building is it? Be like, he doesn't know. He just came across him. Like, so you're trying. So you need to do this, but there's no streamlined process. This is the Marine Corps again in a nutshell. There's no streamlined process. So you're going by word of mouth. And then finally you find, and it's one fucking, to my knowledge, it's one fucking dude on the whole base. And he's sitting in his little fucking office. And like, I remember I like knocked on his door and I walked in. I'm like, are you the FAP officer? And he's like, yes. And I was like, oh, it was like beating a level in Zelda or something. I was like, fuck yeah. Him. So I was like, now I hear about all these like dope ass jobs you can do. The best one was, you could go work Onslow Beach, which was on base. Go work Onslow Beach for the remainder of your time, and you just rolled around in silkies or RPs on a 4-wheeler, just picking up trash. And I was like, fuck yeah, like sign me up for that shit. So I was like, hey, and he's like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, you got that fucking beach fucking shit, dude? And he was like, no. And I'm like, what? He's like, what else do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you got? And he's like, I got 2 things. And I'm like, this is going to be fucking great. So he goes, you can go to PMO, which was abysmal, Provost Marshal's office. So it's like gate guard, or which I saw those motherfuckers that got tech. Because you can tell the infantry Marines at the front gate versus the MPs. Because the MPs are like spit polished, fucking arm movements that are like insane. You just want to get out of your car and punch them right in the fucking mouth. And they all have pistols. The infantry Marines they don't give a shit, and they all have M16A4s, and they're just like doing these fucking things. And I'm like, and they're 12-hour shifts, and I'm like, I ain't doing that shit. So I was like, nope. And I was like, what's the other thing you got? And he's like, on-base tax center. So I was like, I don't know shit about taxes. And he's like, that's all right. H&R Block will train you. And I'm like, I have no other options. I guess I'll do that. So it was a bunch of grunts from all the different regiments.
Seeing you do taxes.
Dude, it was like a room full of Billy Madisons. Who didn't give a fuck.
We gotta go to math?
And then looking at 1040s and being like,
I just graduated 2nd grade.
Dude.
God damn.
And then like this nice lady who's from H&R Block teaching a bunch of fucking savages, like, this is how taxes are filed, and this is, so if someone comes in with royalties, this is what you, and so everybody's like, oh, they're writing shit down. And then we got put on the on-base tax center and just fucking ran amok. We were a part of headquarters battalion, Camp Lejeune, and we were the only infantry guys in that battalion, and we had our first female commanding officer. This is the first time we ever saw like female Marines up close, like in the wild. And it was like, none of us knew how to be. We didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then our company, I'll never forget her first name. I don't remember her last name. Our company commander was this captain, and her first name was Melanie. So we called her Mel, not to her face, but she was a smoke show. And she would go running with her first sergeant, who was a female drill instructor, who like came back, and they were a power team, and we did not know how to handle that. So dudes would be like, I gotta go see Mel for paperwork, and would like leave and just go have conversations. And she was super nice. She was great. So yeah, did taxes.
That's hilarious.
Everybody who got their taxes done in 2008 on Camp Lejeune.
I'm sorry.
Do you still do your own taxes?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's nothing, once you understand the system.
Oh, so it worked out. Look at you.
Yeah.
Fucking CPA over here.
Yeah, I remember.
The CPA Matt Painter.
So it was ran by a civilian who was his former gunnery sergeant. Nice guy. Mr. something, started with an H. Super nice. Actually,
Hodges?
No, it wasn't Hodges. It was, but he was like a Southern gentleman type thing, and he was super nice guy, and like he just didn't know what to do with us. Like we were just so bad.
You guys are fucking.
And
insane.
then it just, oh my god, and then I remember he like, because we'd have like a daily report and we'd all sit in like the waiting room and like we go over shit for the day or whatever. I just remember like a month into this, like a month into tax season. Like he just walks in and just goes, and he never swore. And he was just like, he's like, you guys, all you guys are the worst motherfuckers I ever seen come through this place. And everybody was like, yeah. Fuck. I'm talking like the two dudes. So everybody got taught taxes, but there were still spots in the tax center that could be filled by like whatever. So we had like front desk staff. So we had 2 front desk staff stops. So guys from
your taxes don't.
2 behemoth 03s, right, for infantry dudes who came to the tax center late, don't know how to do taxes. So now their whole purpose is to be receptionists. So they're just sit at the front desk when people come in, and they don't really have a job. So they're just like, and they're,
good morning to her, ma'am.
they were busting people's balls coming in, like just making fun of people when they walked in. So that right off the rip, it's like not a good vibe. And then they just walk away. And there was like a kid's room, had a bunch of toys and shit, but they had these big oversized stuffed animals. So they would just take these big stuffed animals and put them in the seats and put their fucking covers on the top and go do whatever. And like that dude, that civilian, would come out and he'd see the front desk and he'd see like this line waiting and these 2 stuffed animals, and he'd be like just losing his shit all the time.
I feel so bad for this guy.
Oh man, I did too. I mean, not at the time, but I definitely did too. So it was a good little break. It was a good little transition, and then and then got out, and then tried to reintegrate into whatever regular society was, which was
So you moved back home to Rhode Island, right?
Yep, to Rhode Island. Moved in with my in-laws. That was supposed to be. I think we were supposed to be there for 3 months was our plan, and we were there for 3 years because the economy crashed.
And your kids were how old at that point?
I think 2 and 3 maybe.
Oh, okay.
So I went from doing all that shit, all those deployments, to now I'm an unemployed stay-at-home dad, and that was probably the most humbling thing I have ever fucking done. was corral
raised 2 boys,
2 hooligans. I watch videos now because I used to take all these home videos.
Your boys are insane, by the way.
Yeah,
just throwing it out.
Great, but
they're good. Yeah, good kids.
Standard boys,
good
just
kids.
jumping off trees.
Well, they're Matt's kids.
Yeah,
like
and like I encouraged all of this shit, and so I have all these home videos, and we'll watch them from when they were 2 and 3, and afterwards I'm like physically exhausted from watching these videos. And I'm like,
because you remember the hard.
My first 2 thoughts are like, oh, I'm so glad I took this video so I can watch these. And my second thought is like, I couldn't do that shit now.
Yeah.
Like the amount of energy these 2 little fucking heathens had all the time, especially Brennan.
All the time, man.
2-part question.
Yeah.
So a lot of people when they get out, they lose that kind of sense of purpose and meaning, because you're not the squad leader, platoon sergeant anymore, or whatever.
Yep.
Did you have that sense? And if not, was that because of your boys? Because every day is like you're just fucking constantly trying to corral these.
No, I was completely lost.
Okay.
I was probably some of the next to like the shit I went through post divorce. The transition period was probably like the darkest moments I had because of all the things you just said, and then I didn't have a purpose, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and then the economy crashed. There was no jobs to be had.
And you're 23 at the time.
Yeah, and then I was 23, and then it was like whenever like my resume looked like no one gave a shit about anything you fucking did. No one cared. Like so on paper, all I was a high school graduate that didn't do shit for 4 years.
Yeah.
And like, because they didn't have an option, like I could put it on my resume, but when you're doing like online applications and whatnot, like none of them at the time had like anything about military experience. And then I didn't have the wherewithal back then to like really translate,
the stuff you did in the military to civilian.
Yeah. And that show, have you guys seen The Pacific?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So when Sledge comes back,
oh, right.
and he's going to college, and she's asking him like, "Don't you have any skills or whatever?" He's like, "Well, I was an 03, 0341 mortarman.
Killed Japs, got good at that."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's like, "I got pretty fucking good at that," and he like snaps off, and that was like anywhere I turned, like no one cared. The VA system is all screwed up, and so it was a super lonely time. So a lot of my buddies contracted. that was like when contracting was like a big thing. But again, like I didn't want to go through all that and
leave the kids
and
again,
leave the kids
stuff like
again.
that. Yeah.
I was adamant about that, like not leaving them.
Yeah.
Because I missed the birth of my second son. I missed the first birthday of Brady, and that that weighed heavy on my soul for that. So so eventually, yeah, I figured it out. It was a rough road.
Was it like months or years? You feel like until like you finally buried it and you're laid to rest.
It was years, yeah, because it was like I bounced around security job. I thought I wanted to be a cop, and then it's like my buddy Chris that I talked about, which I mean, like I can fanboy over Chris all day. It's such a good dude.
This is the guy you went to Kosovo with.
No. Chris is the Marine that I keep in contact with, that I serve with. Him and his brother, when they get out, so he's got 3 brothers. He's the middle, and his oldest brother just retired from the Marine Corps. His younger brother's my age. Chris is a little bit old. Chris, I think, is 42. But both of them, when they get out, because they're from New York, joined the NYPD, got right on. Easy. So I'm like, I'll go be a cop. I don't know. So I got out, started testing in Rhode Island, and was immediately like, I don't like any of you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like whatever this fake shit is. Like, I don't fucking like it at all. And I'm not going to play your little game. So then I went to Connecticut, and it was better. Like their vibe was better. But again, no one had money to really do any sort of recruitment.
What was it about the Rhode Island Police Department? I don't know anything about being a cop, or like I just kind of assumed it was kind of like.
Well, at that point though, it was really tough to get a job. Like you had to.
Yeah, there's that.
I think probably at the same kind of time I was trying to go for state police and stuff, and it was like they were hiring 1 out of every 300.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like the mentality.
So it's
I
like,
just assumed it would have been closer aligned to the infantry mentality, but you just said like you don't like.
So you
don't
just
vibe
didn't
with them.
have like where did but so I the only 2 experiences that I have to draw from. So sorry, I have a lot of friends who are cops, but they're all the friends that I have who are cops have all served, so they all have that like
different mindset.
Yeah. Versus like back then, I think the majority of police departments didn't have a lot of like combat veterans that can see the world through that lens.
Gotcha.
So I tested for North Smithfield, and then I remember being like, oh, I got to look nice, presentable. So I wore like a polo shirt and slacks. And I went to North Smithfield High School, and it's like for one slot, there's like 250 people, and they're all in suits. And I'm like, this is fucking dumb. And then I was like, okay, I'm like looking for, they were like, just find an open spot with a test in front of it. So I'm like, okay. So like it's like cafeteria seating. Everything's packed. I'm like the last dude to show up. And I sit down next to this chick, and I'm looking, and I'm like, where's the fucking pencil at? And then like I lean over, and I like ask this chick, I'm like, hey, excuse me. And she was like, why is he talking to me? Because everybody was like sitting there like this. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I was like, where'd you get the pencil? And she's like, you didn't bring a pencil. And I was like, no, I didn't bring a fucking pencil. I didn't realize there was a packing list for this fucking thing. And that like that pencil equated to like I wasn't gonna be a good cop, or I wasn't gonna, whatever the fuck that means. So she's like, well, you gotta go ask the deputy chief for a pencil. And I looked at her and I went, ooh. I was like, where's that guy at? And she's like, he's at the front. And I'm like, okay. So I go up, and it's whoever the fuck was the deputy chief. He's wearing captain's bars or whatever. And he's sitting there, and he just has this like, this look of like arrogant, like this is the hardest thing ever in the fucking world, is like doing this thing right here. Okay. So I just go up to him, and I'm like, oh, excuse me, sir. And he's like, what do you want? And I was like, I need a pencil. And he's like, you mean to tell me you came to this exam unprepared for a pen. And I just cut him off. I'm like, are you going to give me a fucking pencil? And he was just like,
I'm feeling it too, man. I couldn't.
So he just like hands me a pencil and I grabbed it and I just went over it and I was so pissed. I just filled in bubbles. I was like the first one done.
Nope.
I just got up and walked out. And then the only other test I applied to Johnston, and then same thing, same attire. I go, I'm in the park. I didn't even make it into the building. I'm in the parking lot and I just hear all this fucking yelling and screaming. And I see a bunch of people running out of the building dressed like me. And they're like, they won't even let you take a test if you're not in a suit and tie. And I was like, fuck this fucking Mickey Mouse bullshit.
Yeah.
Whatever. You can fucking have it. So, and then I was lost again because I'm like, well, cop shit ain't it. So, and then I eventually found my way out of security and into like the emergency medicine field, and then found my way into the fire service, and that's where I've been.
And then you were like, you know what? I want to join the Air Force.
I knew it was going to come up, you son of a bitch. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
where did the Air Force come into this?
Okay.
How did that fucking happen?
All right. So that's a good, actually, that's an appropriately timed question, because this kind of wraps up into all the shit. So all this stuff I just described happens. I'm lost. I don't know what to do. My family, I come from a family of firemen. And I never wanted to be one. But then, like, I found my own way to it. And because I was working security for Fidelity Investments at the time, just fucking hating life. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. So how does one go about doing this? So I looked up all the information. I was like, all right, what can I do, like, right now? And that was, like, take my EMT shit. So while I was working there, I was doing all the night courses at CCRI to get my EMT basic. And then I got my basic, and then I started cracking on my cardiac, which was like, makes you a more viable candidate for fire departments. Not testing yet. And then at that time, we didn't have a municipal fire academy like we do now. So the only way I could really get hired was by like a handful of departments, and none of them were hiring. Because they're the only ones. It's like Woonsocket, Cranston, Providence, Warwick. Like they all have their own
the
academy.
Yeah.
So you could go in there fresh. But everybody else on their applications, like the
you got to have like cardiac, fire one,
you have to have all your fire certs, your fire department certs, which you would get in an academy. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do that at the time was to go be a volunteer. CCRI. Or you could, I suppose you could do
volunteer, yeah.
But that was going to take a month of Sundays because it's wrapped up into the associates program. Yep. And I'm like, no. Like, I'm about to get fired from. Actually, I was working as an EMT. I had already left because I was about to get fired from Fidelity. So I scooted out of there, and then worked as an EMT in a private ambulance. And but how I got to the Air Force thing was the only other option for me to get all those certifications super quick was to join the Air Force as a firefighter, go to the academy, get all my certifications. And then within like 6 months to a year of me getting all my certs, I got hired. So
how was your Air Force experience?
Dude, fucking square peg in a very round hole. It's I don't know. It just wasn't my thing.
Yeah. People join the Air Force for a reason, and it's not to knock, obviously, but
it was.
You don't want to kill people.
A lot of good. There was a lot of good people.
Technical skills that you.
No, that's what I mean. That's like if you want to serve,
and
you don't want to kill people, the Air Force is great.
Yeah, or
but
job skills.
If you're the type of person who, like, I want to go fuck up some people who wants to fuck up America.
Yeah.
And
I tell my kids all the time, like, if you're going to join the military, you should probably join Air Force.
But it's just like, to me, and I don't see this at all of any judgment at all. But to me, it's like the Air Force is the closest equivalent to like a civilian department within the DoD.
Yeah, I would say that.
Because they don't do yearly weapons qual unless like you're an SF, right?
Yeah.
And their PT tests are much more relaxed, but it's like, it makes sense because when you're a force and you're more support, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But for a guy like you, we're like, I'm going to go fucking kill some terrorists. it's
and my brain, my like once you go infantry, like your brain is forever scrambled, and there's people that can transition to other things well if they have buy-in. So like you have a lot of buy-in doing the PAO thing, and you're very good at it, and that's like a niche thing. Like for me, like I was like just a severe knuckle dragger that just his brain was fucking broke by the war. So I was just like I didn't fit, and I didn't fit. I didn't want to fit, and I made fun of everything, and it just caused.
You didn't have to go to basic or anything, right?
No. I went straight to the fire. I literally put on their stupid little uniform they had and went down to fucking Goodfellow Air Force Base, which I thought, I was like, fuck yeah, Air Force, dude. They're gonna have like Ferris wheels, jacuzzis. Their fucking chow hall is gonna be great. And then we're landing in Goodfellow in Texas, and it's like. It's like the little muscle that hangs down from your asshole. That's what fucking Goodfellow is. And we land, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And it's the Air Force's base that it's the fire school and the Air Force intelligence school. So yeah, they put me up in a on base hotel, and then I just showed up to
class every day.
And then. It's a major production that they have down there. It's definitely their fire department. Their fire school is like world class. You got like there's like 20 classes going on at a time. There's like 47 pieces. There's like 47 fire trucks in the high bay that you're falling in on every day. There's like multiple burn things. So by the time you walk out of there, you have
you're essentially a trained firefighter.
Well, yeah, you have your fire 1, fire 2, hazmat awareness or operations level, whatever, and then you have your aircraft fire rescue shit.
Oh, shit.
So you got all this stuff, and so it's like awesome.
You're like the fully developed at that point.
Yeah, and then you know.
But you joined the Air Guard.
Air
right?
Guard, yeah.
So when you got home,
come back to the queue.
Oh, like.
And then you show up to drill.
But you had your certs, so now you got hired.
Now I got hired, and I just at some point, because according to my retirement points, I have 3 bad years in the Air Force because I didn't understand like what missing drills did, and I just didn't give a fuck. I was like, I can't stand coming in this shit. Yeah, so that was lackluster. That wasn't anything. Like I said, I was probably the.
Well, I mean, you were at that point. You just needed a job to like support your family, and you're just like, hey, you gotta. Like this is the way to get it.
That's the way to. That's the way to go. That's the way to fucking get up there quick.
So how the fuck did you end up in the fucking Army Guard?
So, so more broke time in between when I got out, and when I got out of the fucking Air Guard, I was like, that's it. Like,
after how many years?
Done.
3.
Okay,
just 3. And I was like, yeah, and I was definitely a problem child while I was down there.
Because you're in Quonset, right?
Yeah. So I just didn't buy in. I would raise the bullshit flag all the time. I was a thorn in the leadership side.
You became a shitbag just because it just absolutely wasn't like the place for you.
You know, that's the perfect way to put it. And that wasn't me, but but that wasn't who I wanted to be. But I was just so fed up, and I was definitely a fucking shitbag. That was just a pain in the ass. And so I was just like they'd be like, we got to go do medical, whatever. And this is like, we just did this last month and we're redoing it. And I'd be the guy in the back of the formation that would just be like, gay, just being a complete
just not Air Force culture.
Yeah, not at all. So,
it must have been great though when you came to the Army Guard. You were like, these are my people.
It was exactly like that.
I remember when you came in and you're just like.
Yeah,
the fucking lights turned on,
and very
just like,
very
oh shit,
smoke that Joe.
So the
hazing, we don't care about that shit.
Brian just brings some E3 to you. Go ahead, take them.
So I was at some point, and I forget how many years it was. I think it was 5 years in between the Air Force time when I did the Army thing, and in those 5 years. Couple things happened. One, What I realize now, what I didn't realize back then was what the fire service is to me. And at that time back then, I was just like, this just isn't cutting it. Like there's like the fire service is a great place, a good job. There's a lot of personalities. There's a lot of like idiosyncrasies and other shit that goes on because you're living with dudes and whatnot. And just some of the happenings. I was like, this isn't fulfilling me. Like I need more. So what the fuck? And so originally I started being like, well, maybe if I find something to go be an officer, for, like, I'll go to college, and then like that was a master plan, and then
an officer, like you mean police officer or
no, like an officer in the Army.
Oh, okay.
Like in the Guard. I was like, what are the officer jobs? And then I was gonna be like, all right, well then I really want to do this officer job, so I'll finally go get a degree because I need like an end goal. I can't just go take classes for the sake of taking classes. So that didn't go very far. I think I like called the VA to like get like a your EOB or whatever eligibility thing, letter. And I got my eligibility, and I was just kind of like, yeah, fuck that. Like just such a like college and me. Ugh. So I'm like, all right, well, like what's the next best thing? I was like, oh, warrant officer. So then I started looking up like the warrant officer shit and making some phone calls and trying to figure that whole thing out. And then I remember Travis Crooker, and Travis was a Marine with me. He was in
shit.
He was in 2-2 Golf, and I was in first platoon.
He was a tow.
He might have been. I don't know what he was actually. And this, I'm sorry, Travis. I don't remember what you were, but he might have been in weapons. I think he was in weapons platoon.
Okay.
And but
you remember he's from Rhode Island, like the whole thing.
I remember him, and he lived like a couple doors down from me in the barracks. So I remember this dude. And I remember when I did the Air Guard thing, and I was doing one of those dumb medical appointments for one of my fucking drills. They had like the Rhode Island Guard magazine was out, and on the front page of it was Travis Crooker and kitted out in fucking OCP with a billowing parachute behind him because it was Leap Fest. And I was like, this motherfucker. And I just put a seed in the back of my head. So I'm thinking about what to do. I don't know what to do. I remember Travis, and I'm like, what is the parachute unit that's in Rhode Island? And started looking at that. And then at the same time, I separated from my wife, and then we were starting the divorce thing. And I kind of read the writing on the wall. I'm like, there are going to be some hard, dark days ahead, and I am going to need something to like
ground
me and pull me out of whatever is to come. Like I need something. So it was like the sense of like, I need more, I need more, like life and purpose or whatever that I wasn't getting from the fire service. And, I also needed something to counterbalance this fucking massive pile of shit I was about to run fucking face first into. And then, went to MEPS for the third goddamn time. Had the same,
your eyes fucked up. This is fucked up.
Yeah.
You're all fucked up.
Well, had the same
physician
guy, the fucking, he looked like, the dude from Back to the Future, the doctor.
Doc.
Yeah, the guy that does all your medical tests.
Yeah,
he's like squat. You walk like a duck.
Well, and then I think he had like a touch of Parkinson's. So he would like so it's like you get to the butthole check, and he's got his like pen light, and he's just like shaking this fucking thing,
checking you out,
or he's checking your eyes with the fucking eye light, and he's coming into your eyes, and he's like doing this. I'm like, how the fuck do you even know? Like, dude, you were well past your prime, bro.
Yeah.
So
this is the only place it can work.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So so anyway, do all that for the third time. And when I actually went to because I called the Guard recruiters in Providence, and I was just like, hey, here's me. Didn't tell them any of my prior service. And I was like, here's me. Here's what I want to do. When can we meet? And then they were like, yeah, come on. When can you meet? I'm like, whenever's convenient for you. So within like a day or whatever, went down, talked to the recruiter, and then she was like, oh, you just like want to jump out of planes? I'm like, well, yeah, that's like kind of like part of it for sure. And she's like, well, the Airborne company doesn't have any spots right now. They're super specific in who they take. There's some paperwork that goes along with that. But if you just want to jump out of planes, I can make you a rigger like right now. You can go be a rigger. And I'm like, no. And I was like, whatever you got to do, whatever phone calls you going to make or papers to sign, I'm like, you can take a rank away from me. I don't give a shit about a bonus. I was like, just get me to this fucking unit. And she's like, okay. And then she ended up calling Santinello and Kelly. And then they talked about it, and then they let me keep my rank. And yeah, I got right in. And then I called Kelly and didn't know who he was. It was Staff Sergeant Justin Kelly. And I said, hey, how's it going? And he's like, all right, so you're going to 1st Platoon Weapons Squad. And I was like, okay. I'm like, you do understand I was in 0311, and this is where that whole story comes in. He's like, nah, it says right here in your DD-214. I'm looking at it. You're a fucking tow gunner, kid. You were in the, yeah, that means you were, you know.
I mean, you're a fucking weapons squad,
I'm
bro.
like, yeah, but you don't have tows. He's like, nah, we got machine guns. And I'm like, all right, well, I haven't shot a machine gun. He's like, yeah, you'll be fine. So I was like, all right. And then, yeah, and then showed up. I think I did January drill, which wasn't really anything. And then, February drill. I enlisted in January, and then I did February drill, which wasn't really anything. And then
Where is this?
2019.
Okay.
And then did jump school in March. And then, and the rest has been a ride, bro. It's been awesome.
I think it's funny after all this, like you were my fucking, like you were my like first squad leader.
Yeah, I was your weasel. I was your ad hoc leader.
Oh, were you the platoon sergeant?
I was the platoon sergeant at the time.
Oh shit!
When we went to Romania. And it was good times. I had 2019.
What did you think, like, going in, like, because like obviously we're good friends and you know all the stuff, whatever. But like, what did you think? Because after all that stuff, like, right, going to the Air Force, and then you're going to the Air Force, like dealing with the Marines, all that stuff. Like, were you just like, oh my God, this is my people, or was it more like, what is going on? How do I figure this out? Kind of like, or was it both? I guess.
Was it also
like,
you also asking on behalf of because it's the National Guard?
Well, I mean, but the National Guard, but like even from my perspective, like I'm a platoon sergeant, and I just get all these people, right? And so now you're just like, who are these people? Yeah. Like, where do they come from? Like, and stuff like that.
So the part of that. So again, just slapped an Army uniform on and so my first real thing I did in the Army was jump school. And I didn't know I didn't know what was going on at all. I don't know, like I didn't speak Army. I had like a very rudimentary understanding of Army things. So like PRT every morning, like I didn't understand any of that. So I would constantly get yelled at by black hats.
Nobody understood.
And then there was this Austrian.
At your time, actually, nobody understood it. Like, yeah. It was more like.
Well, for sure. And then there was this like Austrian black hat who talked like Arnold, who would just single me out amongst 300 people every time. He's like, what are you doing? Put your knee to your other knee. No, not like that, you fucking retard. And I was just like, I'm like, and then my, one of the good buddies that I made while I was there, I still talk to him this day, Big Ed. Ed was just like, fucking idiot. Like, dude, I had a blast though. And then, so then I get to the unit, and, I don't remember what my first drill back was, because I banged out. I did that, and then like I went right to no.
You did BLC and all that shit.
Well, I did that after. I did that in October. So I don't know what we might have had a drill, but it was pretty much like the month AT was coming up.
Yeah.
So we were prepping for that, and I don't know if because it's gonna align with, you know what I'm saying, but there was a key thing that happened. That was amazing, and it was the night before we left to go to Carson.
Yeah,
and that thing, I remember standing because we had a Ron, so everybody went and got dinner or whatever. So everybody comes back, gear all lined up, everybody's in civilian clothes, and we're taking roll call, and there's Flanders standing there, but Flanders is standing there with a Carl Gustav on his shoulder. And there's all this laughing going on, and it's me and Brad Crandall, and we're just standing there just observing all this. And I was in the fucking Air Guard with Brad. So we're just looking at all this, and I just have this feeling of it's just like I love all of this.
Wait, you had somebody in the Air Guard join Seco with you?
A weird turn of events. He didn't know I was in the unit until he got out of the Air Guard, went to selection, and then when he didn't make selection, they were like, "Hey, why don't you go learn how to be a soldier? We recommend going to Seco." He came into the office and was just kind of like, what's this all about? And then looked on the org chart and saw my name.
So you got two guys who just left the Air Force, just in Seco in a Airborne Infantry unit, just checking it out.
Yep. And I just was like, I remembered the old ways. I was just like, oh my God, like this is fucking amazing.
These are my people.
And it was so much better than my Marine Corps experience. And then I'm like, so I'm thinking like, I dig the vibe. I dig the shit that's going on here. This is not what I thought it was going to be. And it was everything I hoped it could be. And then we go to Romania and that's when I was like legit impressed. I was legit impressed in Carson. But I didn't know, where first off, to quote fucking Lieutenant Keegan Murphy, he's got a saying that's, we're in Seco and everybody else is in the National Guard. So
I respect it.
That is the vibe of the battalion, especially at that time, was like fucking locked on. And I was just kind of like, that was a
good mission.
I was like able to like step back and like observe this and be like, this is some legit shit. And then like we did Carson, we did the live fire, and then we go to Germany and go into isolation and get ready for the jump into fucking Euronom, and after that I was like humping a 240 because Garvin died.
That's
humping
right.
a 240 up the Miskov Mountains. Because they don't cut switchbacks, so it's just fucking
just straight.
Fucking sucks.
It was fucking wild. Man.
Romania fucked up on that one, but so just for days and days, and just being like, and me being like, there's something that happened. Like when you're in the infantry and your eggs get scrambled, your wires get crossed at an early age. So now you always have this thing that's rattling around in your brain that whatever. The happiness that you find in certain things, and like after 3 days, so 72 hours of not changing clothes, just being completely dirty, just living personal filth, just like spit and and it like falling on your leg and you don't give a fuck. And I was just like, oh yeah. I'm like,
it feels so good.
I had no worries. Amazing. I'm like, all I got to do is carry this fucking 22-pound fucking machine gun. Like, fuck yeah, let's get it. And that
was a good one.
And I just remember humping up those fucking mountains and then like looking back and seeing all the Seco doing the same thing, and just like grizzled fucking painted faces of dudes. And I was like, this is fucking hard, man. Like what we are doing is fucking physically demanding. And it's like as hard as anything I ever did as an active duty Marine in my late teens, early 20s. And these dudes are fucking crushing it. I'm like, what is this? And how do I get more? And I will fucking just fucking blow lines of Seco fucking motivation.
Oh yeah,
all day long. Dude.
Yeah,
it's
crazy, man.
Hook, line, and fucking sinker.
Yeah.
And then Romania 2 was.
We had a good time.
Was a blast. That was so much.
We got what, 5 hours? We got 5 hour like
it was supposed to be 8.
pass.
Let me ask: was it just classic infantry having a good time?
Yeah, it was. Okay. It was all the Euronom shit.
But like it was a CTE rotation. So like essentially you had all these like it was the same thing as JRTC, like all these things. So you had all these people there. So I mean, it was, and I can put it this way. So our new commander, so for the battalion, was an SF commander, and he was a lieutenant colonel, and I wouldn't say he shook, but like, it was like, holy shit, this shit's fucking real. Like I saw it in his face, and you could see it because I remember like he was like driving across in the airborne vehicle, like he's like in the passenger seat of the airborne vehicle, and he's just like like he's been up like 24, 48 hours and just like sleeping in the vehicle, like he's getting.
Oh, so you had the entire battalion there,
like, and he's just like,
yeah, the whole battalion.
Oh yeah,
okay.
it was fucking.
We
insane.
did a battalion JFE.
So that battalion, so it was Operations Saber Strike.
For anyone watching,
Saber
I
Junction.
could imagine who's
Saber
not watching
Junction,
doesn't know
Saber
you guys.
Strike. It's all kind of very similar. So essentially, like the 82nd jumped into a different place. Kind of it was all happened at the exact same time,
Right.
all across Europe.
Well, just in case anyone is watching, like I'd imagine everyone's like just our friends of ours, but Rhode Island's the only unit that's not within Texas because the battalion is in Texas.
Yeah. So
Seco is the only company that's in Rhode Island.
Seco is kind of like, and has been, it's like bastard child. However, the battalion really, I mean, I think we won like battalion best company for like a couple years in a row and stuff like that. Like it was just at that point, like Seco was doing well, and it is. I mean, it is probably one of the premier. I mean, it's fucking crazy too. I get calls all the time. Even I just left Seco to move on to another company, but like I still get calls from people being like, "Hey, I'm so and so. I want to be in Seco," because essentially the only airborne infantry company on the east, like northeast region, is Charlie Company.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
And we have, like, I have people reaching out. Like, I have a dude reaching out to me recently that was like, I'm in I think he's in Mass 181 or 182, and he's like, oh, I want to come to Seco, and I was like, well, dude, I'm sorry, man. Like, it's full up. Like, and I don't know how many guard units are like.
There's only two.
Well, I mean, there's
Infantry.
no guard units that like a lot of them like have spaces, right?
Okay. So
like even like getting people into Seco, I can't do it. Like you can't get people in there because it's full. Like it is 100 and I think 130% like full. So it's almost because it's regionalized with the Northeast, like it's the only airborne infantry company in the Northeast.
Well, because of Kelly's suggestion, I made that documentary, like that mini documentary of Joe Weekend. And I see in the comments, because again, I do the monitoring for public affairs, and there's guys that are like, yeah, good luck getting in. And they're like I didn't know that you guys were one of only 2 infantry units that are airborne. One of them was just reactivated maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah, the 134.
But everyone was like in the comments like, oh, there's no way this is like a regular Joe Weekend, and like you guys must be gearing up for deployment. I mean, you guys were, but I also know that was just another Joe Weekend for you guys.
It was just a typical Gucci drill.
Jump in, fucking ruck march, wake up, and then run your fucking missions.
Yeah, do your ranges or
yeah, and it's like a soft spot for me. I mean, I've moved on now, and I moved on before, but it is probably one of the premier units in Rhode Island National Guard, and it's just because they're a bunch of infantrymen. Like it is like a bastard stepchild of the National Guard as well, but the people come far and wide to join this unit, and they stay. And so like even like, I mean, you have, I think I did like the thing for it. Like I just looked at like where are all these people coming from? And like maybe 50 or so soldiers are like regionalized, like are in Rhode Island or in like the residing area. And the rest are all over the Northeast.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
it's
one dude
insane.
from,
the one we have a dude like, and then
Really?
we have a dude that flies in from Hungary.
No shit. Wait, hold
month.
on. You gotta explain this to me.
I don't know.
What the fuck does this mean? Like,
No, he's actually he's like not even a reporter, but he's a writer. So he's kind of got his own thing going on. He had family in Hungary, moved over there, started living with them, and he flies back and forth. He's got a residence in the States or whatever, but like he essentially lives out there, flies back and forth.
That's
every month.
legit.
We had an officer from California, like, and they would fly back and forth to go to drill.
Yeah, I mean, it blew my mind when Covell traveled to California. But
it's
Hungary?
it's kind of
wild.
And I mean, Seco is just it's a it's like a needle in a haystack. Like you're not going to find it anywhere else. It's not going to be. And if if Rhode Island were ever to like get an airborne battalion or something like that, like it would just like in my view, I mean, I think obviously there's a lot of things going on or whatever, but like in my view, I feel like if you got an airborne battalion in this kind of state, like where it's regionalized, you would just have you would be able to fill it firstly, and then you would be able to kind of expand on what Seco has built. And it's kind of weird that like a lot of people don't realize what Seco is and what it came from, because you came from there.
Well, you don't know because it's like it's all you know. I just thought like, because when we came in, like the money was good. It was just like, you could be E3 with like airborne, air assault, and try to go to ranger school. And when I got older, and then I talked to people, active duty, National Guard, whatever, they were like, "Yeah, I'm begging for airborne school." I'm just like, we got some E4 that just came back from Pathfinder.
Yeah.
They sent some E5 to fucking Halo school. Yeah. You know, it's just like,
I think in Matt's first year, we sent him to heavy weapon leader. We sent them to
that was 20
ELC, ALC, the whole fucking nine, the whole gambit, right? So now he's sitting as essentially a platoon sergeant in Seco, and it's kind of a wild company that you don't expect, and people don't see it as that.
It's a pirate ship for sure, and the commander is fucking Jack Sparrow, and that's a double-edged sword for like. Because, like you said, we're part of a Texas battalion, but everybody we report to in Rhode Island is not an infantry person.
Yeah.
So there's a mentality that doesn't necessarily always jive with us. Versus, had all of our higher echelon leaders be all in the same battalion and be infantry, like it'd be a different story. When you go to ask for certain things. But the Seco, like when drill happens and those dudes walk through those, like get on the drill shed floor, like I don't see students or cops or firemen or carpenters or HVAC or whatever. Like I'm staring at fucking paratroopers, which is wild. Like there's no, I don't know. It's a crazy, awesome thing. And I think just by the nature of jumping out of airplanes and everything that goes into that probably has a lot to do with mentality wise. Cause it's like every time I've heard it said before, like anytime you do an operation in the water or you're jumping out of aircraft, or even to a certain extent when you're doing live fires, but at least the jumping in the water operations is a real life operation that things can go very wrong while you're doing it if you don't have your shit together. So there's a lot of expectations on everybody who's there, and a lot of expectations on the guys put in charge of everybody and your NCOs and your lieutenants, and trying to if you have brand new lieutenants who come in, trying to vet them, mold them, make them something worthy of command, and all that jazz. So it's a great place. It's where you go to be a man. It's where it's like the last bastion of manhood, where you're gonna get treated like if your parents were fucking soft-handed with you, like you're going to get treated as you should as a young man, because it's all men, don't have a chick yet. But that doesn't mean like you're going to get beat. That means like you're going to get talked to like a man. Like if you forget a piece of gear, like I've had this happen before. Kid, get out to the field right before you deployed. Get out to the field. Junior kid doesn't have his tent. Because I was going around being like, hey, we need to figure out, everybody who's got fire watch tonight, put this fucking chem light on your tent so people can find you, whatever. So this junior kid obviously is on fire watch. And his team leader comes up to me and says, like, yeah, he doesn't have a tent. And I was like, okay, all right. So I pull that kid aside. I'm like, why didn't you bring a tent? And then he's like, well, I didn't get, I forget if he said like, I think he got issued one. But he's like, oh, I didn't know I needed that. Like no one told me. All right, so this fails. I'm like, all right, so I'll take that on that you didn't need a tent. I said, however, I'm like, you're in the airborne infantry. I'm like, when you jump out of a plane and it's in the middle of the night and you have no idea where you are. And now you're stumbling through the woods with your fucking shitty nods on looking for other dudes, and you find them. Like, you're going to have some decisions to make, and you might be the senior guy out of that group, but you still got to go figure out where your alpha is. You still got to fucking kill people on the way there. And at the end of the day, you got to be a pirate behind enemy lines and make shit happen, because that's what you do.
Yeah. That's kind of the biggest thing with Seco or whatever, or with any airborne company, right? So a lot of times it's like the entire company is there, the platoon's there, so you have, first platoon, second platoon, third platoon. Like, first platoon's doing fucking this, second platoon's doing this. When you jump out of fucking planes, like, it doesn't work out that way.
Yeah.
Right. So when you jump out of a plane, like Romania, like whatever we jump into, essentially what you do is you link up with anybody that's around you. So we call it an LGOP, right? So little group of paratroopers. So you link up, and whoever essentially is the majority, now you have that mission. So essentially you become this fucking pirate fucking echelon that is behind enemy lines, and you have to complete a mission. Yeah. Like, you have to get to the Alpha, which is like the place where you kind of reconnoiter and like get like everybody together. Once you have the capacity to like do that mission, so you have X amount of weapons, you have X amount of people, you go and execute that mission. Whether you're with Seco, whether you're with ACO, whether you're with DECO, like, it doesn't matter at that point. You just you get there and you fucking do the mission. And and that's why it's so imperative that like a lot of guys know the mission and know what is going on at that exact moment. Whereas maybe other companies, it's not like, that's not the mission, right? So the mission is like, you always know where first platoon or second platoon or third platoon is, and like, and it's like you're, and you have that mentality that your flanks are covered and you're this and that. Whereas like an airborne company, you are it. You know what I mean? And I think that gets lost in translation a lot of times, because a lot of the people that are maybe I guess overarching the Charlie company and being a part of the airborne community, it's not like the infantryman piece is lost to an extent.
No, I get that.
So you like even Leave Fest, like for Seco, and just speaking out of turn with it, like Leave Fest is a great thing for the state. Like, it's awesome. I'm glad for it to happen, but like, it's not a Seco mission, right? So like having people jump out of planes is not a Seco mission. It's having people jump out of planes and then do the mission afterwards.
Yeah.
That's where like you separate the paratrooper from like a jump club. Yep. And it's it's a weird dynamic.
No, I totally get that, because as infantrymen, you guys are focused on the mission. But like you said, when you're not in the battalion, and so you don't have the overhead from other officers who are infantry.
Yep.
Other officers are going to be looking at more things like optics.
Yep.
That's going to play a game into their decisions. Where if you were an infantry officer, you wouldn't give a shit.
Exactly.
The mission is the mission.
Yeah.
Everything else can kick rocks.
There's more hoops to jump through right now because of that. But yeah, so that kid, so that was just a lesson to him, which I was just like, I don't care how fucking old you are, and I don't care that you're a fresh new kid. Like, what you need to learn now is you need to ask questions. And if you see everybody with a thing that you don't have, fucking ask somebody to be like, what's this thing and do I need it? And then go from there. But you have to have, like, and I told him, and I tell all the new guys that, like, it's big boy rules. Like, because you need to go, that's why we're going to start doing JFEs again, but so that way everybody can see how fucking wild they get. Yeah. But but yeah, you need to know the plan. You need to know all the other companies' plans and your adjacent units. You need to know this, like all this shit that you wouldn't think that I couldn't be the typical dumbass Lance Corporal Matt 2005 and just be like, I'm in Iraq, I don't know where, but this is
it's a
where
bigger
I
picture piece.
am. And like, just do what I'm told. Like, nah, bro. Like, you gotta, like, there's a lot more emphasis on and expectations on who we have in the company and you know, what we expect from them. And I think I think that the fact that the majority of our NCOs, at least the squad leaders, are all GWAT dudes, and then just the culture that we've created there makes it so that way people stay, makes it so that way it's hard to get in, and yeah, makes it so that way, you know, we train, you know, commiserate to what we should be training. So,
you know what, my brain's kind of sticking on when you said big boy rules, and that's what I appreciate about the infantry, because the infantry, yes, it's the army. There's always some sort of like SOP or like packing list or something you have to follow, but there's so many things that's left up to you where it's big boy rules, where it's like, if you don't do the smart thing, it's consequential. If you're like, fuck today, I'm not gonna take my knee pads. And then like you're on patrol, and then like you finally take a knee, and it's like, but your knee's all fucked up every time you take a knee because you didn't want to pack your pads. Well, now you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I appreciate how like you have to learn how to lead yourself, and then eventually you're trusted to lead others.
Yeah.
With the other MOSs, it's not really like that.
Yep.
When you're a mechanic, yes, like there is that kind of standard wheelhouse of being an NCO and like leading soldiers, but there's like.
Yeah, you're not living off something. Like,
Yes.
and you're
like,
more of a manager. Like,
Yeah.
like if you're outside of combat arms, like you're, and specifically the infantry, like you're more of a, like just a day to day in a managerial role if you're an NCO. So NCOs look different, you know, to your point, wherever you go. There's just, there's those inherent implied tasks that the junior guys should know. It's our job to be like, to make sure that they know that, hey, just because you asked the question, you're not going to get your balls smoked off. You should ask, so that way you're prepared. And our only benchmark should be our end state. Like, can you perform? Can you jump out of an aircraft going 120 knots at night with 70 pounds of shit hanging off your lower spine, and then land appropriately on the ground, catch your bearings, know the fucking plan, find people, hopefully find your own company, but find people, and then go do the thing, whatever that thing is. And it's usually either securing an airfield for follow-on forces, or it's securing a key piece of terrain for follow-on, and then having a follow-on mission, whatever that is, wherever that will become. But up until that point, yeah, dude, like, go be a fucking savage and figure it out.
Well, that's the thing. My brain's sticking on, and it's not to knock obviously mechanics or NCOs or mechanics, but it's more like when you're the Joe, if you're infantry versus mechanic, I think gaining confidence and then becoming a good leader is about learning how to make good decisions.
Yeah.
And when you're a Joe and you're constantly fucked up, but you learn to make the right decisions, you become a stronger leader. Whereas like when you're a mechanic, there's not too many consequential decisions to make.
Yeah. It's probably like, you know, fine minutia of and especially like you look at aircraft, like any of the aviation guys who are aircraft mechanics, like the checks and balances that they got to go through. And if they don't, you know, I'm not going to even pretend to know what I'm talking about. But the point is I'm trying to show love to these dudes that aren't the infantry guys, that have these like critical skills and roles that they have severe consequences with. Like if you don't do your job, this fucking helicopter falls out of the sky, or this plane doesn't work, or the
yeah, it's just different. That's
fucking
all it is.
It's different, and the leadership styles are different. I think you grow up if done right, if done correctly, which is what I believe Seco does. You grow up appropriately and quickly into a man that can then take your uniform off and like go make good life decisions, because someone
creating good men.
Someone
just in general
talked to you like a man, held you to a standard, told you what you need to improve on, gave you accolades for the shit you did correctly, and there's room for improvement, and you have a huge support network like behind you, and you got.
I mean, that's the biggest thing about the Guard too. Like, so you get in, right? You get in the Guard, like, I mean, this dude's a firefighter, this dude's a cop, this dude's fucking HVAC, this dude's whatever. You get in, and then all of a sudden now, like, you start talking to these people and they own businesses or whatever it may be. And like I've known many people that have like, oh, hey, oh, you work in this company? Oh, no shit. Like I'll I'll put it in a reference for you and then like get you hired and stuff like that. Like it is a crazy networking tool that I think it's like, I don't know if it's just overshadowed to an extent, but that it's almost like a recruiting tool at this point. It's like, hey, join the fucking Guard, and now you have a giant network of like people that you do.
That is a good point.
They don't even, I mean, they don't even like they don't even think about that, right? So you join the Guard. All right, hey, recruit in the Guard, and then you can go to school for free. You can do this for free. How about like what if I don't want to go to school and I want to fucking be a firefighter? I want to be a cop, like whatever it is. Like most of those dudes, and shit, my fucking company now, it's like, I want to say like close to 20% fucking cops. Like, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying like they've gotten that role because they were in the company.
So you know what? You make a really good point, especially the world we live in where everything is just online, so you don't have to leave your house. Like I love working out in my gym, so I don't meet people, whatever. But it's like once you leave college, you're not forced to a situation where like you go into this class, and you get a chance to encounter and meet your wife or your best friend or just so many people. You join the fucking Guard, you're going to be forced to meet so many more people that there's another opportunity to meet your friend, your mentor, your possible wife. That's a really good point.
And there's always a guy that's like, hey, like I do finance. I fucking buy houses. I fucking like, it's crazy the amount of people you meet and what they do outside. Like, and when they're doing their infantry stuff or whatever they're doing, like Guard wise, like they're just doing that. But then when you start talking to them, you're like, oh shit, like you do this and that and this and stuff like that. I mean, I know there's a dude that like literally built, I want to say most of the stuff on Devon's, like in the Guard, like in Rhode Island Guard. There's that many opportunities, but there's also an opportunity to grow up as a man. Like, at least in the infantry companies, I can't talk about a lot of the other companies and stuff, but there is an opportunity to essentially make yourself better.
Yeah.
And obviously the schooling thing is good, but like, yeah, the networking thing is huge.
I feel like, and like I've never been like fucking like harping on the Guard. Like I love the Guard. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I've never been like a ride or die, like National Guard guy, but like I think this is a good selling point. If anyone's trying to leave active duty and you don't have like solid plans in life, join the Guard because then, like you said, the networking itself alone will help you get your foot in.
Yeah, and a lot of the guys that come off active duty figure it out, right? So like even the guys we've had in SECO, I have had in ACO.
And it helps the Guard because, dude, you bring all that experience.
Like
Don was my squad leader.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys I've had have moved on and done something better, or gotten out, done. Now they have a career. Like it's almost like it's kind of a crazy transition. But guys come off active duty and they don't know what to do. Kind of like into your standpoint, right? They're a little bit lost, and they have that kind of basis where they can show up to drill. Like even the cops, I tell you now, like we have cops that are essentially guardsmen, but like perfect example, right? So I think last drill or the drill before, one of the guys was like, oh, I'm gonna get out because the cop thinks like it's getting busy or whatever. And I was like well, and I think my first sergeant at the time was just like, and he's a cop as well, and he goes well, on this Saturday, like what would you be doing civilian wise? Oh, I'd be working. And he's like, oh, so you'd be on your 12-hour shift right now, and right now you're gonna go home and go have a normal life, like because we've worked from 6 to 5 or whatever it may be. Yeah. Like you're gonna go do that. So it's almost like a and when I worked in the manufacturing kind of facility, and I was doing that, like I was working 7 days a week, and then like drill came up. It's like, fuck drill, whatever, god damn it, fucking gotta go do this thing, whatever. But you show up there and it's I wouldn't say a vacation, but it's like it's a good break.
Yeah.
Right? Because you show up there, and now it's like you're with your dudes, you're hanging out, you're doing the thing, and it is a huge thing. And I specifically talk about the cop thing, right? Like, so those guys, I mean, they're working 24/7 shifts. Like, they're just like, you know, running ragged. A lot of cops are kind of, they've, you know, there's not a lot out there. So they're working 24/7 to like make whatever money they can. And then they show up, like they get a free, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 days off. Like, I mean, you got to go show up to the guard, but like you're essentially doing a totally different task, and it's helped people, and I know for a fact it's helped people like actually remain like stable, and a little bit more aware of themselves. You know, it's it's crazy.
That was my big thing. Like Seiko's done more for my mental health than all the therapy I've done.
Oh, I was just thinking, because what Zach was saying, I was kind of tying my mind, like playing small psychologist. But I wonder if it's like the grass is green on the other side. I can't wait. Like, I'm like 2 years out till I retire, right? I'm like, oh man, like it's gonna be great. Like, you know, not doing anything, weekend, but like it's one fucking weekend. But it's like being a part of that community, even though you're not breaking down like a Machiavellian style, gives you so much. Like, I may not feel like waking up to go and drill, but like when I was in the pad, I moved over to the MPs. But when I was at pad, like I see my buddy Mike. It's fucking Mike. It's great. You know, we're gonna get the fucking mission. We're gonna do that thing. I think the guard gives you community, if anything.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think that's a basic human need.
Yeah.
That I think society's probably gotten away from. You know,
I mean, the crazy thing is, right? So Matt came in, right, as essentially a team leader, right, as an E5. I think you came in. Came 5 as an E5. I was a platoon sergeant at the time. Comes in, you know, fucking hit it off, you know, like, and now he lives like a couple houses down from me, and it's like,
oh shit,
and it's just funny, like it like that wouldn't have happened otherwise. Yeah, like you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't have been a thing, you know. And then now it's like, oh shit, like fuck, like let me call Matt and see what, like, because he's down the street, you know. Like it's and that's like the, you know, that's like an overarching thing, but like, you know, you find people that you like and you I guess can be real with, to an extent.
Like-minded individuals. It's like I said, it's been some of the best therapy, and all my best friends are in Seiko. They're the guys I hang out with and do all the other shit I do outside of, you know, my regular job and drill, like whether it's rock climbing or traveling or whatever we're getting into.
It's funny because I saw you when we were in Kosovo. You're like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, man. I'm like, I don't know what I was doing on base, getting some sort of story or whatever. And you're like, you have this fucking bundle of rope over your shoulders. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna go fucking climb this mountain now. It's fucking great. I'm like, okay, man, have fun, don't die, be safe. Yeah, you know?
Yeah. We did. We had it good. We set it up good, and then and I don't think. It'd be funny. I'd love to get Brian in here and like hear
fucking maniac.
Hear his side of it, or even Jake. But I don't think I was ever in a complete uniform for more than 24 hours.
You had like some gym shorts on and a t-shirt. I was like, all right, man.
Dude, you give me an inch and I will fucking take a mile, and then I will have all my guys take as much rope, and I'll be like, hell yeah, fucking get on this train, like whatever. So
hey, good. We've been going for a while, but I'm gonna take one more piss break, and then I kind of want to ask you your thoughts on the mental side, if you don't mind, because I know we've been going for a while now. We'll probably close it out soon.
Right. Yeah, right. I don't mean it's like a guard snapshot. like, oh, I joined the guard.
I'm really curious on the whole mental, how other people deal with combat mentally afterwards, because like I've always been curious why I don't have PTSD. Some people say I do, whatever, but I don't think I do. And you went through, how many guys did you guys lose in your first deployment?
7. In my company, 7, yeah.
How many of those guys were you close with?
varying relationships. Like I knew them. I knew of them. I was so junior. So the first casualty I had was my lieutenant. And like present for that whole thing and how all that went down. And then the guys who lived on my left and right of me, because when I got to the fleet, I got there a little late where they didn't have, everybody cleaned their weapons in their rooms. So weapons platoon had the first floor, so they didn't have to lug up 50s and Mach 19s or whatever the fuck else, 240s and shit up 3 flights of stairs. And there was no spaces in the first platoon area on the 3rd floor. So I roomed with the weapons guys, which was dope because weapons guys are weapons guys. My room was 215, and I think in 216, 2 guys got killed, and in 214, 1 guy got killed. And so just living around those guys, knowing who they were, not being like not in the same platoons, but like you're all relatively close, as close as you could be as like it related to what you're doing and work wise. Like I didn't hang out with those guys.
Okay.
But I knew them all well enough. And then, we took so many wounded that we started having combat replacements, and then we had a combat replacement get killed. Just, snipers, booby traps, a lot of IDs.
Was it mainly IDs?
Yeah. IEDs or SV bids and booby traps. The booby trap is what killed my lieutenant, and then really fucked up this dude Adam. And then just and everything that like being present for that and everything that comes with that. And first platoon, or even golf company for that matter. Like I don't believe the deployment they had prior to ours, I think they incurred some casualties, but they didn't have any KIA. So for us, like even the senior guys, that was a whole new thing. Mm-hmm. Like when that finally happened. And and it's just a lifelong process. I don't know if you watch Andy Stump and his podcast, Cleared Hot or whatever. He's got a good quote that he says in there of like, if like war will touch you back. So like you touch war and war is going to touch you back, and you don't know how, and you don't know what that's going to look like or how that's going to, shape you, especially if you're a young man, in your late teens, early 20s, like how that will shape you for the rest of your life, both good and bad. How that's going to squeak out and how, in weird ways, or what you're going to have to process. And, unfortunately that's what happens. So, and then trying to figure out, what does processing that look like? What do you even do?
When your journey back, I mean, you, did you seek out therapy, or did it come to you, or is
no?
It more
well,
like
so I didn't do anything until I was getting ready to get out, and I went and saw a medical officer on base, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, there's I have like these extremes in emotions. Like I'd be fucking furious one minute over nothing, and then the next I'd be zoned out, or I'd be like so far down like a mental rabbit hole. I'd be like having like an emotional moment in the corner. So I was just like, hey dude, like what the fuck is going on? And like had a discussion with him about it, and it was very like clinical. Like it was just like, oh yeah, like everybody has it. Here's some Zoloft.
That's fucked.
Like carry on. But then again, like it's fucking Navy med. Like like not to shit on them, but they don't know what the fuck to do with that. They're not going to be like the
I mean, there's so much stuff now.
Yeah,
that
nowadays
has like come in, but now it's like
back
before
then
it's like,
no, fuck no. So
just get the meds and figure it
and then
out.
you get out, and then you just don't know. What I've learned is, even after all these years, I don't know. It'll come out at some point, and the length in between when it last came out to when it comes out again, like those emotions will bubble up and they'll happen randomly, and there's nothing you can fucking do for me anyway, to like tamper them down. Me and Dave talked about this because Dave,
Robillard?
Yeah, so oddly enough, me, Dave, and Kelly were all in country the same time in Iraq in 2005, just in different areas. So Dave, like Dave and Kelzo were in the Army, and I'm banging around as a junior Marine to like the east of them. But me and Dave call it like the ugly cry, where it's like there's nothing you can fucking do to stop this overflowing emotional Hiroshima that's coming out of you, and it's just like this fucking hateful, savage, overflowing of emotions that can happen, spontaneously.
Let me ask you, because I honest to God, I felt the same thing. I've never talked to anybody about it. I just thought.
Yeah.
I thought it was more of an effect from Capaldi's passing, but I've never cried. I don't cry during, like, I'm not a crier. Right?
Okay.
I don't. When I was little and I wanted to cry, my parents would just like fucking force it to me not to cry.
Yeah.
So I've learned not to cry. After Capaldi passed away, I've noticed like I'll be watching some like Hallmark movie, and some like sad scene will happen, and like I'll just be like wanting to fucking like let it out, and I'll slap myself. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Or like maybe I'm driving and I'll think of something really like, I don't know, whatever, and I'll feel super emotional. It feels like this emotional dam has broken. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. It's just, like whether it's and maybe you don't like same thing. Like I've had those same experiences, but they weren't necessarily related to like something that reminded me of what happened.
No, me either. I'm
right?
just like listening to like Sour Umbrellas or some fucking shit.
Or some song comes on, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
What I like as I get older, and this is just an unfortunate, part of going through this at such an early age, and then having other life stuff come into play. Actually, I just had this conversation with Katie while we were vacationing, just weird out of the blue, because I started talking about faith, which wasn't like I'm not a religious dude, nor do I want to be a religious dude, but faith and what that all.
Well, faith is not religion.
Yeah, what that kind of all looks like, and what my reasoning was for it. And because I told her, like, I'm trying to, like, me and Katie have been together for a while now, and she knows a fair deal about me, about my past. She doesn't ask a lot of questions, which is fine. But she knows I carry around this fucking bag of trauma. And she knows like some days, and they're luckily they're very few, as I get older. But there's some days where like that fucking depression hits, and it's just a big wet fucking wool blanket over me that's hard to shake. And I know how to shake it, but it took years for that. So what I've come to realize getting older is that there's like this fucking cistern of sadness that sits in me that is like behind this fucking cold, wet door. And it's always there. And I'm always hovering right outside that fucking thing. And so if something, like my dad, when my father passed, it wasn't like I didn't just grieve for my father, because that door got open to that cistern, and then all that trauma that just sits there is there. And then all the ghosts come back, and then it's, I'm not just grieving for my father, I'm grieving for the 7 guys that we lost, or I'm grieving for the buddies that passed away after we already got out from whatever reasons. All that stuff just starts coming in on me. And it's always going to be there. So however, how we got on that topic of conversation on vacation was,
Well, I mean, like you say, kind of how to deal with it now.
Yeah.
What's the number one thing you go to like kind of, I mean, because for me, working out, like that's a big one. Meditation is a big one for me. But I mean, what do you do? What is? So
I look at mental health as like the center cog in the spoke of a wheel, and that all the spokes that hold that wheel together that support that mental health come off it could be, pick whatever healthy habit, therapy, working out, a good support network at home, journaling, staying in a don't fucking, like if you turn into like a stark raving lunatic watching the news, maybe don't fucking watch the news if it's going to put you in a negative feedback loop. So do things that create positivity in your life, create a positive feedback loop. So all these spokes, right? But you can't just, I think a lot of misconception is people, especially like us, like a certain demographic that's like older than us and hasn't done the combat thing and has these jobs, and then they got like this like 1970s, 80s like false sense of bravado. Like I don't need to fucking talk to anybody, though. I'm fucking fine. Meanwhile, like everything in their life's a pile of shit, and you're a big dumpster fire of a human being. It's like, dude, at the end of the day, everybody dies, bro, and you only have like this like small sliver and blip in time to like kind of rock out and live a good life. So like maybe like don't be all fucking da about it and like go do something so you can live a good life, or don't, like whatever. But usually their answer will come in the form of the American way, where it's like, oh, there's a pill for that. Let me take that pill. And that's just one spoke on the wheel. So once that fucking pill stops working, if you don't got anything else in your bag of tricks, then you're going to be up shit's creek and you're going to be right back to where you went to. And now you're just taking more, now you're relying on that medication or whatever. So I think it's whatever it is. You gotta have multiple avenues to help you out, because life is gonna fucking kick you in the balls
always, no
matter what. And you gotta have a network of people and a toolbox of things that you can go to help you out, or to get through whatever. And to your point, like not getting emotional.
Well, it's scary getting emotional, like because you feel that you're weak, right? Because there's, like I remember 2 times my dad cried, like 2 times, like my entire life, and and those are big moments, right? But like you don't cry, like you don't do that. But now, like having kids and like seeing a bigger picture of things, like it's okay. It's okay. I think like my caveat to that is, for sure. Like, and I didn't even know this, but the boys came out with it because of course Brady's, so my oldest, is the one who's actually down at Benning right now.
Oh shit.
So he likes to bust my fucking balls all the time. And he's like, well, you gonna, so when I leave, you're gonna cry. Is that what you're gonna do? You're gonna cry. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. I'm like, why don't you fucking ease off the old man, bro? And then
quit your shit, man.
Yeah, quit your shit. So the
you're gonna cry. You're gonna fucking cry, you fucking bitch.
Well, I fucking looked. So I really thought about that because I had my own like, I had to work my own way through him joining the military and getting and growing up and all that. Well, everything that comes with that. I had a lot coming at me all at once. And there was some things that helped me through that. But the one thing I realized is that I don't want, like, because they both have said the only time they saw me cry was at my dad's funeral. And I'm like, I cry all the time. Like I have these moments. Like I'll have these whatever fucking moments, or a fucking song hits me a certain way.
This is post
deployment. This could be, dude. In that well of sadness, that deep murky thing that's inside of me. I think about fucking death all the time.
Yeah, but I'm saying, were you like a crier before the deployment? Like were you like I got hit by a soccer ball, I'm crying.
No.
Okay,
it
cool.
would be like you ever see Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Remember that movie?
Yeah.
All right, so there's a scene in it where like the evil dude has like he's talking about killing tunes. He's like, this is how we get rid of all the tunes. I haven't seen this movie in fucking forever. And he's got like a cartoon clown boot, and he's like over this vat of acid, and the cartoon clown boot's like screaming for its life. Okay. And he's just like, and he's like, no, don't do it. And then he puts him in the thing, and the thing like fucking dies in the acid. Yeah, I would cry at shit. I'd be like, that's awful. I'd be like, I want to fucking kill that guy. Okay. You know what I mean? So so yeah, like I think a level of emotions I had prior to going in, and then just like I said, that like thinking about death, I think way more, and not like my own, not in some sort of suicidal way. Just I think about it like what it is, what it means. Like
I think you get to a point, and if you're at a good point in your life, you realize that life is super short.
Oh yeah.
So when you think about death, it's more like, oh shit, like I gotta do some stuff.
Yeah.
Or like, because it is. I mean, like like what, maybe 100 years, right?
Maybe
if you get there,
yeah.
like very rarely.
Yeah.
And in like, I mean, we're like half that,
yeah.
like pretty close,
yeah.
like streeping on half that right now.
Are we middle aged?
We're just like,
we're
fucking middle aged.
I'm getting close to middle aged.
And
I'm older than both.
You're like a year older than me.
Yeah. No,
I'm 38.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. You're all right.
You're an old
I got snapback on, so like it fools you.
You're a handsome man. It's good genetics, bro.
That's that fucking awesome. Asian genetics right there. Yeah, that's good stuff. But I mean, like it's a crazy thing when you realize kind of that life is super short.
Yeah.
Like you have to, every day that you miss, like even like my kids now, like they just started hockey, right? So they just started getting on the ice, and then I'm fucking watching them, and I'm like, this is fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like it's cool watching them like grow, learn, trying to figure out stuff. Like, and it's I think it's something that helps me through life, because, you can go down that rabbit hole. You can like make yourself a part of this like giant rabbit hole of pain and suffering and whatever it is, but like you can also see the bright side of things, and I think that bright side, like however you get there, you got to get there. Yeah, because unfortunately, like a lot of guys don't get there, and it's not good. But there are ways around. Like, and the perfect example is like, I know, like if I go, 2-3 days, or even like one day not working out, like that for me, my mentality, like that's like, oh, you're a piece of shit, like whatever it is, and it's like, oh, you fucking missed a day, you fucking
agitating,
you fucking piece of shit, like what the fuck, like, and I just know that, and I know, so I'm like, all right, I gotta get there, gotta get to the gym.
I'm curious though, because like, I guess I'm being selfish with this question, but like, I know when I was at Walter Reed, right, I'm young, I had just turned 24, and like, aside from the gym, like I didn't want to do anything that was positive because I'm just so fucking into my own shit.
Yeah.
For 9 years straight, all I did was drink every fucking night, and that's not exaggeration. Because I didn't even realize at the time, but like till like later, I realized like I would go home and like I would drink at Walter Reed, and I would drink when I get home. It was always Jack and Coke. I had because the Jack Morgan, like you get the fucking 2 liter for like 20 something, $30, and I would just get Jack and Coke every night. I would drink at least 3 to 5 every fucking night, and like you build a tolerance. I'm like, I'm not a sloshing drunk, But I did that for fucking 9 years until I had something else like enter my life where I was like, I gotta be on my game. I gotta like not be sleeping tired or like, you know, what can we say to somebody like that? Because like you would not say shit to me to like get me out of this fucking funk.
It sucks. You gotta find yourself.
Yeah,
like that's the only thing.
I agree with that.
Like you can't, like you even. I mean, I was drinking every night and going to work at fucking 4 a.m, and I'd work fucking 7 days a week, and it was just like that was it. Like, and I was good at it, right? So you'd be good at it, you know. And it didn't occur to me that was a problem.
Until something happens, like a DUI happens, or right? like you get in a fight or something.
Yeah. And honestly, that like, and I think I've talked about it before. Like getting my DUI after deployment was probably the best thing I could have ever happened.
I'm not gonna lie, I forgot you got DUI. I was just saying.
No. But I mean, like, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me because, like, I was down. I was like, let's fucking go. Yeah. Like, I was just like, let's fucking do this. Like, I am fucking unstoppable. And then when I got that and like realized that, you know, I have a fucking child at home, like I gotta fucking deal with this shit. I need a fucking real job, like all this stuff. Like it fucking hit me like a fucking haymaker, and it sucked. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it fucking blew. But the perspective that I have now for it, I couldn't trade it in for more. Like I feel like that made me a better person. Like, and you know, it sucks that has to happen, but like for me, it worked, you know?
Yeah. I feel like you're the exception to what I've seen. Cause I know, I know too many people that I've had intimate contact with that have, you know, complained ad nauseum about their issues and then tried to use me as some sort of support mechanism only to never help themselves.
Yeah.
And never overcome that. So I think you're spot on where you have to fucking want something different.
Yeah.
You know, than whatever it is that's going on. And that's when you start talking about like addiction wise, that's, you know, part of it for sure. And then it's a whole different animal because of just, you know, how that interacts chemically with you at that point. And then I would assume your why is going to be bigger. And like, that was just, you know, my dad was an alcoholic and great guy, you know, a lot of good memories, you know, plenty of not so great memories. But ultimately in the end, like just couldn't get out of his own way. Couldn't like, and there was nothing anybody was going to say. And he knew for sure. And nothing that, you know, like, and I finally had like a big talk with him and came at him like starting off with like, hey, this is your only son telling you the following, and then went into like a whole thing. And even that, like, that didn't change. Probably made him feel bad and more guilty, but it didn't. It was like my final thing I could say to somebody for that. So that whole wanting a better life has to be.
Yeah, you have to want it.
You have to want it. You have to be shown. You have to be shown it through successes, and you have to want it, and then fuck, you got to fucking fight for it.
Yeah, because it's not easy.
No, not at all.
Easy.
I mean,
trust me.
And right now, you know, I was married for 14 years, 2 great kids, and marriage was tough, and then got divorced, and then what came of that was rough, but like I'm like life's fucking awesome now. I just hope we don't go to war with China, because like I'm not paying child support anymore. There's like a bunch of trips I want to take. Like, let me just fucking ease
that
off
fucking
the
Lesko thing's
conflict
pretty fucked up.
Yeah, so
like because essentially right now like the big picture is like readiness, right? Like so you're ready to everybody to deploy at the same time.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe some of these fucking general officers should, you know, realize that and stop having cocktails in the hallway of hugs, and let's like get back to the
get back to real shit.
The reality of it.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah,
it's good.
Can I ask you?
Yeah. Keep going. You want to go to the mental health route still?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
It is good. It is good. It's good.
You're my sounding board. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because people think yeah, I'm around a bunch of soldiers all day, but I don't fucking talk to them about the war shit. You know what I mean? I don't talk to them about like their mental health. So it's like you're the only sounding. I mean, obviously Zach's always with me when I do this thing, but I don't ever want to let myself off the hook when I'm being an asshole because I'm an asshole, right? Like I want to own it or like acknowledge it, whatever. But like I don't feel like I have PTSD. But the only thing I feel like I walked away with was when I get mad, I get really fucking mad.
Okay.
And I feel like after deploying in a combat when it's like the stakes are so high, there's no excuses for bullshit.
Yeah.
Or like when we go into a mission, it's like, well, how are we gonna exfil? Well, we'll just fucking blow a hole in the wall, and just fucking exfil from there. So when you live with such extremes of outcomes, I don't feel like there's a limit to my anger, and I hate that. Do you ever feel that way?
I think, however, I think having kids helped, and I think the amount of fucking therapy I've did helped. I was angry before I joined the Marines. I was like real angry. Had I pulled some of the shit I pulled back then in today's world, like, oh boy, like I could only imagine what I would have been painted as. But yeah, so the Marine Corps chilled me out a lot, and then, but yeah, to your point, like when I got back, very, very prone to violence, very fucking angry. I think Zach will vouch for this. I think the guys in the unit will vouch for this. Like I'm a pretty level-headed, chilled dude. Like not a lot bugs me. There's certain things that do. Like you fuck over the boys, and like I'll have a lot to say, and there's no stopping that shit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what fucking doodad you have on your collar. If you're wrong, you're fucking wrong. But but that like anger shit that comes out, unfortunately, that would only come out with my kids because they push my buttons so much, and I would like at a certain point it'd fucking snap off on them, and then I had to like reel myself back in. I think that's kind of just I don't think that correlates to necessarily my combat experience. Maybe makes me a little more edgy. I think it's just a lifelong.
I feel like that anger is not going to go away.
No,
because even for me, like
I don't want to hear
like
that.
no, even for me, like that anger needs to be fucking trained somewhere else. Like because like for me, like for an example, like I'll get fucking angry for stupid fucking shit, and like and this is like, I mean, it is stupid shit, right? So I got to bring my son to fucking soccer, right? And then like he's got to fucking put his shoes on, and then he's got to do, and then like the anger comes out because he doesn't like his socks the right way. Like, and it's stupid shit, and it fucking like, and I know it's stupid, so I don't get angry about it. But like to me, like I get angry, but like I don't try and show that,
Right?
But like it's like it's almost like you just gotta kind of like realize the multitude of it. Like you gotta realize like why you're angry so much, and what oh man, it's like it's like an anger that you almost have to just temper it with humility, right? You gotta just be like, all right, this is fucking stupid. Why am I fucking angry about this? Like this is fucking like this is stupid. Like don't be angry. Like, and I'm not gonna lie, I definitely use fucking nicotine or whatever the fuck, like to fucking calm my fucking shit down. Like get that shit fucking like, cause I tell my wife all the time, I'm like she's like, oh, that's bad for you. My kids tell me it's bad for me. Like it's just like, and I'm just like, well,
It's
either that or fucking I'm gonna be a raging fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
Like, just let me have this fucking one piece of fucking something.
Yeah.
Just
give me advice.
I don't drink that much anymore. Like, you just like give me the fucking thing.
You're
like,
outside strangling the arborvitae.
Yeah, just give me like I just want to fucking throw it. Like, I can't even throw a dip in anymore because it's fucking not dip anymore. It's fucking packets of fucking nicotine. But anyway, fucking throw a fucking packet in and fucking be good to go. Like, you know, just let me fucking deal it my own way.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's.
I think it's perspective.
Yeah.
And like if so talk therapy is not for everybody. But this is my only sales pitch on this, is that if you find someone, you go in there with the expectation of just bitching and getting things off your chest, whatever that is. And then once you develop a rapport with that person, that counselor or therapist or whatever, if they're good and like they're I don't know, the vibe syncs up, then what's going to happen eventually is, like, if you go in there with that saying like, and I don't know if you've done this, but if you do go in there and you're like, hey, there's this, I feel this way, this fucking ball of rage that is always simmering in me. I want to do something about that. And then you walk that back. And however that comes out through however you're talking, you're trying to suss it out. At some point, if they're a good therapist, they'll wait till you're finished or they'll pause you. And then it's like they pick you up, they keep your situation right here, and you're saying it from this side, and they pick you up and they fucking plop you down over here. Mm-hmm. And then they say some shit, and it makes you look at it from a different angle. And then you have these epiphanies that happen, and you're like, fuck, okay, all right. Like, and then you start realizing shit about yourself, and then you start realizing like, then you can start putting things in. I call it like half of this shit with mental health is perspective on certain things, like dealing with life. So, all right, where do I put these things so that way, you know, someone doesn't, you know, break down the cardboard boxes and put them in the fucking recycling. I don't like lose my shit and want to fucking burn the house to the ground or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I know what you mean.
So and it's, you know, I think because of what we've done in the lives that we lived, you're gonna be rough around the edges no matter what you do, no matter how much you try to smooth. Yeah,
and if you realize that, like you realize that you're gonna be rough no matter what you do.
Perspective.
Then, I just don't like it. If I could learn to not live with it, that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there's ways to do that. You know, like you just have to find what works for you.
Yeah.
And after
like the things we talk about in the beginning of the podcast, and then we have to edit this thing out.
Yeah. That helps.
Terry, you'd be fucking a strong candidate.
I definitely want to get
not gonna lie
on that one.
Strong candidate.
But
for that
but also like that's why I do the shit I do on the outside of I don't want what I do in the Guard or what I've done in the military or what I do at my job to define who I am. It's not the sum total of me. Mm-hmm. So the other shit I get into, like the rock climbing stuff, like that's first off is something I could do with my kids, and then some other guys in the unit that I'm close with, and then what I enjoy about that is at some point during whatever the fuck we're doing, I'm going to be 80 feet up, smoked, hanging off of some shit, trying to make a fucking move. And I'm going to have that fucking fear comes in. And that really only happens while I'm doing this shit. And I'm fucking addicted to it. And I'm like, because then there's your internal fucking battle. There's your internal struggle of like, do I fucking bitch out right now because I got this tiny little toehold and my fucking legs fucking jamming and I'm trying to sneak my hand up to grab the thing? Like, can I do this? or am I gonna fucking bitch out? And sometimes, you know, I mean, I'm human. The inner bitch wins, and if one of my kids is fucking belaying me, they will sure as shit let me know it. So they'll just be like, "Oh, what are you? Oh, you coming down? Oh, all right, old man, hang on," and then they'll bust my balls all the way down because I need like a mental reset. But most of the time, I'll get to that point and I'll feel that fucking creeping in on me, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, here's the fear. It's right here. It's knocking at the door." And I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna send it, bro. We're just gonna go for it." And then, you know, then you fucking win. And I think that helps because when you're doing that shit, I'm not thinking about anything else.
You're present.
I am, yeah. and I do a good job, I think, in daily life to be present. That was a thing I had to learn. But fuck, man, to sharpen that down into like laser point focus, doing something, whatever that is, doing something that gets you to that goddamn moment where you're just like, I think works. I think for people like us, that is extremely therapeutic. So whether it's that or your workout regime, again, spokes in a wheel. So like I box, and at some point during boxing, I'm fucking sucking dick for nickels and just, and then my coach beats me up. And I'm like, the only thing I'm thinking about right there is like, how do I stop this?
Yeah.
How do I suck more oxygen into my lungs?
Fucked up.
I'm not thinking about, you know, all the other wazoo shit I think about day to day.
That's why I love running. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever it is, running.
Do you think you have PTSD?
Yeah, probably. I think the amount of, I think any deviation from like abnormality, like normal life that you have, like if you compare a normal person just plodding along in their 9 to 5 and being like, you know, Martha made cupcakes tonight, it's gonna be delicious, and like, you know, the TPS reports don't get filed, and they're like, God, man, she golly willikers, Bill really just gets my goat. You know, like that would be the normal day-to-day human being worrying about bills or whatever. Like the lives we live and the trails that we've walked down have incurred 100% have incurred a fucking toll on everybody that has done that thing.
How does that present for you, this PTSD? If you believe you have PTSD,
yeah,
how does that present?
Fucking sadness, like extreme sadness all the time. That takes a lot of effort every single fucking day to push that aside and just live, be a good dad, be a good boyfriend, a good human, a good fucking platoon daddy, you know, all that shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a daily fucking effort. And that's kind of what, you know, when I was talking to my girlfriend in Germany about faith, because we were in Munich, walked into St. Michael's Cathedral, and it's huge, it's opulent, cavernous, gorgeous, and for whatever, like I've been to a bunch of places in Europe, have walked into many cathedrals, have looked at it from a perspective of like architecture and being like, this is amazing, blah 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 blah. For whatever reason, there was like this thing in the back of my head about faith, and I walked in there, and I've been in there before, but this time it like hit me sideways, and I was just like, there's something to this whole faith thing. Like people built these structures for various different reasons, but because of some sort of belief that they had, and it could be Catholic, it could be whatever the fuck, it doesn't have to be that. But my big thing was like, these people who have faith are able to like put down this shit, like put down a lot of this fucking baggage, this trauma that you end up carrying around. And I don't know, I mean, I can stuff, before I got really smart, I used to stuff all my fucking feelings and emotions with sex. That was kind of like the thing that I squeaked. I wasn't drinking, it wasn't drugs, it was that. And then I you know, and my current girlfriend's a big part of this, without her even knowing about it, just her disposition and our conversations and helping me learn more about myself that I thought I'd learned everything I could learn about myself. And then I learned some new things, and she was very helpful in me discovering like a better version of me. So now it's, rock climbing and boxing and, camp, like anything outdoors or something with some physical component to it that helps. But it's a daily struggle working out, work out every day. Just keep those, we have demons, whether we realize it or not. And some of us are better at it than others about, keeping those at bay. And then when you start really panning out, zooming out to like the macro level of what your life is, what are you? Not to get super hippy dippy, but like we're all fucking terminal. So
you're stardust.
Yeah, that's it. And you only have this finite amount of time here. So the quicker you can realize that, and realize that a lot of this shit day to day in the aggregate doesn't really fucking matter. What matters, and this is what I tell the boys all the time, I'm like, what matters is your relationships, the memories that you make, and the love that you create and support around you. Like anything else outside of that, bonus. But your path to get to those three things, varying.
Yeah.
But that's what life is. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to fucking give a shit that Matt jumped into Romania too and had a wild time in Euronam and did things in the Marines or was a fireman for however many years I'm doing that and all. So like, no one gives a fuck. Like, go be a good human and do good things.
Yeah.
So
fucking word.
Hell yeah. I think we should probably close it out. Can I ask a question
and
then leave you a room to ask a question?
Sure. I mean, I think we've fucking covered it, man.
All right. So just out of curiosity, this doesn't have to tie in with the military experience or PTSD or anything like that. But like, as of now or recently, what's your latest epiphany in life that if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self? Like me, my latest epiphany probably was like a year ago when I realized, or a year or two ago when I realized it's okay to quit. Like I DNF'd in an ultra triathlon, and I'm okay with that. Like I learned it's actually sometimes good to quit.
Yeah.
What for you recently, or the most recent epiphany?
My most recent epiphany was being vulnerable. That was a huge, I didn't even realize that was a fucking thing holding me back. And it was holding me back in my relationship. And
vulnerable with who?
What's that?
Vulnerable with who?
With your significant other. Yeah. Like,
so you're not saying like I'm on Facebook and I'm being vulnerable. You mean like
no, like being like making yourself feel the emotions.
Yeah, with
you're yourself, like allowing yourself to like cry.
No, not with my significant other.
Okay.
Like I had a lot of walls that I didn't even realize were built, and they all, and this was part of my therapy thing, was when I described it. It all went back to me having a problem with being vulnerable. Like not like I'll let you get close, but I won't let you get that close. You'll think you're getting close, but you're not fucking close. I'm not gonna tell you I walk around with sadness all day long, and I'm not gonna tell you, I think about fucking death every day, to facilitate some conversation. Or I'm not gonna be completely truthful about why my behavior pattern is what it currently is. Why all of a sudden you're like, what's wrong? And I'm like, no, everything's good. Whatever. I'm not going to go into details about that. But what that does, especially when you have an awesome partner like I do, it prevents you from having a really awesome relationship. And then there's like, you start driving a wedge in your relationship, and then bad shit happens in your fucking relationship. You did whatever becomes of that, however that squeaks out. So that was my big realization that I didn't even know was a thing, was vulnerability within committed relationships. So, and then I learned that, and things have been great. If I were to go back and tell my 18-year-old self anything, I would say, like, you create your own happiness. Yeah. So the path, like, it took me 30 years to finally not give a fuck about
30 years.
People,
what
that's people think or say.
That's the fucking key right there.
Or whatever. And the quicker you can maturely drop that, because it's one thing to be like, I don't give a fuck about what anybody says. And there's another thing to actually not give a fuck. When the quicker you can get to that actual mature, like, I don't give a shit type of, like, correct mentality, to where that frees you up mentally to make decisions and pivot and be like, oh, this relationship sucks. And even though I'm best friends with this person's mother and father and I'm intertwined in this family, this fucking relationship is dog shit and it's killing me. So maybe I should be a man and fucking walk away from it and go find happiness. Or maybe it's like, my job fucking sucks, and, you know, but, you know, I get money and I can go, you know, play with my dick at home and whatever. And I'm that's enjoying whatever it is. Like, no, you have the ability to do whatever the fuck it is you want to do. And that equates to living a happy life, living a meaningful, happy life. Yeah. So the quicker you can realize that, the better off you're going to be. So yeah, this should be in, like, parenting 101.
Yeah, right.
Just telling kids, like, hey man, fucking support.
That's fucking taking tough, notes, man. Taking notes.
Yeah, right.
Any questions, Zach?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Let's fucking do this thing.
Cool.
Fucking
all
good.
Right. Well, Thank you, Matt, for your time.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It was fun talking.
This is the longest one ever, I think.
It was great.
Hopefully, somebody gets
gift of gab.
The gift of gab.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Hopefully, someone's. I don't know. Maybe some of your active duty and you stumble on this video and you're like, you know what? I want to give the guard a try. Maybe this inspires you. Maybe
you're like a fucking recruiter now.
Yeah.
I guess so, Christ, man. Bro. Maybe. I mean, fuck, man.
We're just telling the truth here. That's all.
Hey, but if you're from New Jersey, don't even bother applying to Seco. Yeah, we're all done.
No. You guys get so many Jersey dudes.
No,
we're
all
done with Jersey.
They're done.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right, Matt.
Anywhere else?
You know what? Maybe we'll have you on another time because I have more questions about deployment. Sure. You know, but maybe we'll get you in. I don't know. Who else
we get some more people on. Fucking Brian.
I'm fucking down to clown.
Yeah, bro.
Call me up.
Thank you.
All right, man.
All right, man. Thanks, guys.
Good
Appreciate
stuff.
it.